Oh, you know what I love?
Sports.
Love sports.
Sports. When
It comes to Texas A&M.
Where are you getting this information?
let me tell you.
Welcome to TexAgs.
I need to talk a little sports with you, Ags. David Nuño here with TexAgs Radio. Billy Lucci here on TexAgs Radio. Olin Buchanan.
We will develop men, we will graduate players, and we will win championships on the field.
The best way for us to win is to do it together.
Do you realize everybody knows who you are right now?
I think we're coming into this year with a new confidence.
Schools are like, we're freaking Texas A&M, man. Like,
that's about as pretty a throw-catch combo as there is.
I saw the safety roll, the slot fade. I knew where I needed to put the ball.
You had no other option but one hand at that point.
Yeah, man, 50-50 ball, I got to come down with it.
You know, if I'm betting on anybody, it's the Aggies.
OB, you and I talk often about, like, we kind of like A&M being under the radar a little bit. Like, there's something good about not having these, like, high expectations, so you can just go in and do your work and earn your reputation. But I also read things, and I'm sure I do it too, which makes me think, you don't really follow the team, do you? So I'm going to read you an ESPN overreaction on Texas A&M, okay? And to me, it's glass half empty as opposed to glass half full when it comes to A&M. Okay. So the other programs, Ohio State, I think, had a same kind of scenario. But here's the overreaction on ESPN. By the way, TexAgs Radio. They didn't know that. Presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio, Go Hour, presented by the Warehouse at CC Creations. Here is the overreaction. The Aggies lost too much in the portal to win in Mike Elko's first year.
And who wrote this? Do we know?
It's ESPN. I think they have different.
Yeah, they do.
This particular blurb is from our friend, Mr. Wilson.
Well,
Dave Wilson.
I like Dave.
I do too.
But I would be inclined to disagree. Now, when at what level is another question.
Sure.
But again, I would ask, who did they lose that's going to be
Let's go through it because it says
in the portal? Because the two guys they lost that, as we know, that really matter are Anaya Smith and Edrin Cooper.
This is what it says. It says they lost wide receiver Evan Stewart and defensive lineman Walter Nolan, LT Overton, and Fidel Diggs.
Okay, Fidel, you've replaced with Nick Gordon. I think you actually
got a better version.
You barely had Evan Stewart last year.
Right. LT Overton was in and out as well.
What did he do here?
Again, people get fascinated with names and stars. And look, there's a reason there was a coaching change. Certain players did not develop at the level that I think they should have been developed to.
Agreed.
You can maybe say that about the defensive line, but other guys on the defensive line certainly did. But that being said, I understand that there was probably the editors like, hey, let's overreact on every team. And you have to find something. And like, if you were to overreact on something about A&M, what would you overreact about? The defensive line maybe being the best we've seen in the last 10 years?
Yeah, probably.
That'd be an overreaction, which is, by the way, realistic.
It's realistic. It's possible.
Possible. There you go. Better word.
What would I overreact to? Negatively or positively?
Just do both.
Maybe positively, I'd say, man, all the problems at cornerback are solved. You know, they brought in all the guys, and we said overreact.
Yeah, I know.
And they're, you know, now it's a team strength because they got in Will Lee and they got the kid from Alabama. Can't think of his name. And Tyreek Spell's back and da-da-da-da-da. And look at all these guys who were freshmen last year. Now they're sophomores. Man, that all those questions at cornerback are no longer a problem. Now, if I'm going to overreact negatively, I was like, well, you know, the receiver position.
That's exactly the one.
That's just, you know.
You lose.
They're not going to complete a pass.
You lose Anaya Smith and you lose Evan Stewart, okay?
Yeah.
How are you going to be better there?
How can we? And then the you know, you didn't get the transfers, and then the one you got hurt, and the receiver position is just going to be a disaster.
But here's overreaction to the positive side there. Connor Wegman was putting up Heisman-esque numbers before he got hurt in the Jimbo Fisher archaic offense. What is he going to do with Colin Klein? Put up Heisman-like numbers all season long. If you want to overreact, that's possible.
You know, I think this group of receivers coming into the season, maybe comparable to the group of receivers that A&M had in Fisher's first year when it was Courtney Davis,
Yep.
Kendrick Rogers, and Jamon Osmond. You know, a lot of good, productive guys, but maybe
not the guy
right now. Nobody that just takes the top off the defense.
So look,
now maybe somebody's going to become the guy.
If you're going to overreact, I don't think this is a double-digit win team yet, right? Just because there's certain gauges that I have to see, certain levels that they have to reach, and I have to see more than I've seen right now. But you can make an argument for sure if you're going to overreact positively. How many games the last 3 seasons have come down to a possession?
Exactly.
Right? With bad coaching on the offensive line, a hamstrung offense, and a quarterback every year, or multiple quarterbacks who have gone down. So with that alone, you get just a little bit of good luck. Just a little bit. You win a couple more games each year.
Again,
that's overreacting in a positive way.
Maybe. You can't take anything for granted. We've learned that.
Right.
But the list of reasons we've discussed, I think you can't undervalue what Tommy Moffitt's bringing. I mean, they had a guy that's never been a strength and conditioning coach, and you could look and see that there was a problem because they couldn't pick up 3rd and 1.
Yeah. Now that the Tommy Moffitt one is only, I think, LSU fans that really will recognize the difference, because I don't know how many people that are analyzing teams go there. We are close, so we see it.
But we have pointed out before, when A&M has had strong teams, they've always had
strong strength and conditioning,
highly regarded strength and conditioning, and there's a reason why whenever a coach leaves, like Brian Kelly, who actually fired Tommy Moffitt,
right,
there's a reason they bring their strength and conditioning coach with them, because they acknowledge the importance of it. So that, and the new offense under Colin Klein, and quite frankly, the new defensive coordinator and Mike Elko's defensive background, I'll take that over, Durkin every day. The new offensive line coach, the new receivers coach. I think you may see better production out of your receivers because I think they'll be coached better.
Yep.
And then, you lost some talent, but man, you brought in some good guys too.
Let me read you
Let me ask you this.
Okay, I'm going to answer this.
Do you think you could make an argument that A&M may have brought in more production, not saying talent, but more production than they lost?
Yeah, you can absolutely make that argument.
Because Walter Nolan was good when he wanted to be. The problem is he didn't always want to be.
Fidel Diggs, he had stretches where he was really good. It wasn't sustained.
I wish he was still here.
Yeah. But I still wish Evan Stewart was here.
Yeah.
Well, from a talent perspective.
Right. Yeah.
I definitely wish Anaya Smith was here.
Right. We're talking about just
the transfers.
portal.
Yeah. So let me read you a couple of these overreactions. Okay. Georgia's offense won't be nearly as good without star tight end Brock Bowers and Ladd McConkey. I agree.
And Cedric Van Pran at center and some of the other offensive linemen.
Right. Ohio State. Freshman phenom Jeremiah Smith will immediately take over Marvin Harrison Jr. as Ohio State's number 1 wide receiver.
No. But, yeah, that's an overreaction. I think another overreaction is that kid from Kansas State, right, that transferred at quarterback.
Yeah.
That he's going to be an end-all, be-all and be the absolute solution to any issues they have at quarterback.
Oregon. The Ducks are going to be one of the most physical teams in the Big Ten.
Boy, that is based on what?
Here's an interesting one. Texas. There's a quarterback controversy in Austin.
I covered them when they had the whole Major Applewhite, Chris Sims deal.
Yeah.
And it was funny because, Sims was the quarterback whose dad had been in the NFL and had the big name, but Applewhite was better.
Clearly better.
And Mac went with Sims because he didn't want him to transfer.
Yeah. We're seeing that play out. Here's one that I find, okay, Notre Dame. Former Duke quarterback Riley Leonard is injury prone.
He's had an injury.
That is an overreaction, right?
Is he injury prone? Is I saying Connor Wigman's injury prone because he got hurt once?
And an ankle injury, by the way.
Yeah.
Trying to see, did he get hurt the year prior?
I thought he had a good year.
Yeah, he definitely had a good year. Ole Miss. There is no such thing as rat poison. And he goes on to say, first of all, Lane Kiffin knows better. He's been repeated phrase often after hearing former boss Nick Saban lament what rat poison can do to a football team, yada, yada, yada. I guess this is about bringing in all these transfers.
Well, if there was any rat poison at Ole Miss, then maybe Kiffin would be poisoned.
Wouldn't mind. Missouri. Overreaction. Offensive line could hold back the offense. Well, that's everybody, but
I don't know. I have to admit, I don't know what they lost in their offensive line.
So a lot of these are negative. Not all of them, but a lot of these are negative.
My overreaction to Missouri might be their defense isn't going to be able to keep anybody under 40.
And hopefully they can't keep anybody under 40 here at Kyle Field. Number 9, Alabama. Oh, we've heard this line before. A quarterback controversy is brewing.
A controversy. But Tyler, yeah, I'll say this. And of course, A&M doesn't play them. But as someone who doesn't like Alabama, I hope Tyler Simpson's their quarterback.
Here's one for LSU. DBU is back. Defensive back university.
I thought that was Texas, delusional buffoons. Why? Why is it back?
Let's see what it says here. Coach Brian Kelly blew up the defensive staff, poaching coordinator Blake Baker from Missouri, bringing back longtime secondary. And if young players, Ashton Stance, P.J. Woodland, and Deshaun McBride, Kylan Jackson continue to develop, the coaches should have at least more depth and talent in 2034. That's not DBU University, in my opinion. That's Mark Slayblack who wrote that. Michigan, the transition from Jim Harbaugh to Sharon Miller will be seamless.
Missouri was 7th in the SEC in pass defense last year, with Kentucky on their schedule and and Vanderbilt on their schedule.
Right. Oklahoma, the Sooners' offensive line will be their undoing.
I have to admit, I don't know much about Oklahoma's offensive line other than the Cowboys took one of their tackles with the first-round pick.
Here's one for Tennessee. Overreaction. Nico.
That's all you had to say.
I am Aliva, whatever his name is, which I know I'll know how to say.
I'm leaving on a jet plane.
For Heisman.
Holy cow. Are you? Yeah. But that's the mic drop overreaction right there.
Some of these are interesting. NC State, the offense is going to be electric. Clemson, the offense is a disaster. Well, it's been a disaster the last couple of years. K-State, nothing can stop the Wildcat offense. Interestingly, they lost their offensive coordinator, so okay.
Nothing can stop the Wildcat offense. Their quarterback's in Columbus, Ohio.
Running back DJ Giddens is facing big expectations after a breakout 2023, which he rushed for 1,200 yards, 10 touchdowns.
Hey, by the way, Nico, I'm leaving on a jet plane. Last year, 28 of 45, 62% passing, 314 yards, 2 touchdowns.
Interesting.
So what did you see in those games that made you say, this guy is going to win the Heisman Trophy?
Now, let me ask you this, because if they said that about Connor,
I would say you're overreacting.
Right.
But I've seen more.
But it's more believable than Nico.
I've seen.
I'm leaving on a jet streamer, or whatever you called it.
Jet plane. I've seen so much more out of Connor than, and of those stats I gave you, his best game, he was 9 of 12.
That's efficient.
For 66 yards, a lot of short passes against Vandy.
You might be able to do that.
I saw that Vandy game and said, my gosh, this guy's your Heisman Trophy winner. Look the way he surgically took care of Vanderbilt.
And by the way, we're not saying he won't. Like I haven't watched Nico enough.
I'm saying he won't.
But my thing about Nico is, there's such little evidence to make that kind of overreaction.
He ran for 71 yards, by the way.
Oh, on how many carries?
20. 355 average.
By the way, the last one I'll give you, Miami. It says overreaction. Is Miami BA ... question mark. Is Miami back?
Oh, jeez. The overreaction there happened like 2 years ago when they hired Mario Cristobal. Oh, we got a Cuban in Miami.
Hey, smart. Very smart play.
And look how great he's been.
Well, that's what people said about me at TexAgs, and they realized.
I was like, well, how great has he been?
Well, he was really good in that one game. Remember? Where he could have, which game was that? Where he could have won the game at the end, and he decided
Georgia Tech.
Georgia Tech. There you go.
But what had he done at Oregon?
Nothing.
I mean, they had more talent than anybody, but they didn't win any championship in the Pac-12.
Right.
Okay. Boy, there's a lot of overreacting there.
A lot of overreacting.
But Nico, I'm leaving on a jet plane is definitely the ultimate overreaction that he's winning a Heisman.
This is Coffee Talk presented by TexAgs Coffee. Beat the hell out of mornings by going to texags.com/coffee. Appreciate everybody listening in this morning. If you want to be a part of the conversation, 979-693-1150. You can call us. You can text us. We'll chit-chat with you. What are you overreacting to this morning? 979-693-1150. Let's go around the room and say hi to the people. We go behind the glass and say hello to Nick Savage. Nick, good morning, buddy.
Howdy, good morning, y'all.
What's up?
I'm looking forward to tonight's baseball game, last non-conference game of the season. Interested to see if they can complete the perfect non-conference record. It's against a Rice team that, record doesn't show that they're the best. Numbers don't show that either, so good chance that they can get it done. Hopefully Weston Moss, I believe, at least according to the game notes, he's scheduled to start this game, so hopefully he gives the Aggies a good outing, and who knows, maybe we'll get out of there with a run rule.
I would love to see a midweek undefeated season. Would love to. Much prefer an undefeated postseason. That's just me, but I'll take both.
I'm with you.
I'm going to overreact. Midweek games, we win them undefeated. Taking that to the postseason.
Just win them all. How about just never lose again?
Ever.
Ever.
Can you imagine?
Like this year and beyond.
Decades.
Yes, I can imagine it.
Yeah, me too. I can only imagine. Good song.
Yeah, imagine there's no whatever.
I don't know where we're going with this. Let's go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Callie Gardner's there 3 days in a row, Callie, right?
3 days. Well, 3 days in a row here, 2 days in a row at Social. Thursday, I'll be back there with Nick.
Oh, okay. Who's going to be on Social on Thursday? Caitlin.
Oh, Caitlin, maybe.
Okay. All right.
Is it Caitlin?
I don't know. Somebody will be
She's
here.
out there. I think it's her.
All right.
This whole intern schedule is a disaster, by the way, David. I'm working on a new one right now. Just I want it to publicly put it out there. It's my fault.
Well, let's be very honest about this, Nick. I started doing it because we have all these different start dates.
That's really what. And freaking Matthew and Luke thinking they get vacation. Are you kidding me?
Right.
Real World's about to slap them in the face. I can't
Eric
wait.
Casares, obviously, he's here 1 week. He's at the SEC championships the next week, and he's here. And then he goes to the NCAA champion.
He sounds like a dinosaur.
Eric Casares.
Brontosaurus, the Eric Casares.
The Brontosaurus.
Tyrannosaurus, Ericosaurus. Okay, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
No, I agree. I like your comparison there.
Because not all dinosaurs are big, right? Some of them are quite small, and that would be your Ericosaurus.
There you
He's
go.
not the biggest of dudes.
I wish he was here first for me to crack on him like that.
You think he's listening? His mom is.
I doubt it.
His mom will report back. She listens all the time. Yeah, no doubt. All right, let's continue.
So we got some news. We already touched on Aggie baseball. They look to finish undefeated in their midweek non-conference game. Not just midweek, all of non-conference, which they'd be the only team in the NCAA baseball to do that this year. So that'd be really exciting for them. And I mean, we were talking about never losing again. I don't really know. Is that obviously it's not realistic for baseball at all, but it's very interesting how that's not realistic for baseball, but football, we have teams go undefeated all the time. And baseball, I feel like it's more important for teams to lose to figure out who they are.
Yep.
I've always been on the mind that you can figure out if you have any issues while also winning.
Right.
I've never been one of those guys that lose is a good thing, but okay. I've heard say, we needed a wake-up call. I'm like, why?
Hey, let me interject because Drew on the YouTube page is saying that he's reading what Dave Wilson's writing a little bit differently.
Oh.
He's reading it as it's an overreaction to think that we lost too much.
Well.
So there's And when I read it, I didn't kind of take it that way. The Aggies lost too much in the portal, yada, yada. The Jimbo Fisher Blockbuster deal has now gone the way of Blockbuster Video. Aside from the 2020 COVID season, Fisher never lost fewer than 4 games in his first 5 full seasons. The Aggies went 12-13 over the past 2 years. It just talks about who they lost. There are new faces all over the secondary, and Elko's been working to rebuild the culture and new attitude. There's plenty of talent on hand in the schedule that includes preseason's toughest matchup in Notre Dame. Elko will have the opportunity to make a quick turnaround if he can succeed in finding the right parts.
Wow.
So what he's saying is that's the overreaction.
We're saying it's.
But we're also telling you why it may not be an overreaction.
I'm so confused.
I am too.
I may just storm out of here because I'm going to overreact.
Callie, let's get another report in.
Yeah, so the women's golf team placed third after the first round of the Bryan Regional on Monday after firing 1 under 287. They're 1 stroke behind SMU and LSU for the lead. SMU and LSU are currently tied for first, and Clemson and Iowa State are in 4th and 5th, rounding out the top 5. They teed off about 20-ish minutes ago and are currently underway on day 2 of the regional. So hopefully they can find a way to.
Yeah, I hope so.
Top 5 advance. So.
Just one stroke back, though.
Yep.
Yeah, stay at least where they are. If not, climb a little bit.
All right, let's hit a break here. OB, let's when we come back on TexAgs Radio, the performance of the week. A little more difficult than usual. A little more difficult, but we'll find a way. Right now, though, let's talk about sponsorship and vendor opportunities at the Association of Former Students. So if your organization or your business is looking for an opportunity to engage with other Aggies, then you need to check out the Association of Former Students. They bring Aggies of all ages together during awesome events held throughout the year. You've got the big ones like Aggie Ring Day, All Aggie Hullabaloo, and Gathering. They all welcome tens of thousands of awesome guests. And there are many sponsorship and vendor opportunities available to get your brand in front of all those attendees. And these events offer a wide variety of both digital and in-person options to promote your brand. Options include title sponsorship, naming, on-site presence, activation, recognition, and social media posts, and much, much more. There's also advertising opportunities in both the Texas Aggie Magazine and the Aggie News newsletter, which are seen by over 230,000 people. So if your business is ready to engage with Aggies, choose a partner with the organization that's been supporting the Aggie Network for over 140 years. For more information on options available through the association, please email sponsorships@aggienetwork.com.
Nico, I'm going to leave on a jet plane.
Oh, well played, folks at Bryant Broadcasting. Yeah.
I thought he might come back with John Lennon's Imagine because we talked about that.
I was thinking I Can Only Imagine by Mercy Me.
Yeah, Mercy Me. I have no idea about that one, but
that's the top 3 songs of all time
really?
for me. Absolutely,
okay.
yeah.
But I remember Mercy, Mercy Me by Marvin Gaye.
I'm pretty
Things
sure
ain't what they used to be.
That's one of the classic songs.
Sounds like a Jimbo Fisher line.
Yeah. Make a shirt out of that one, baby. TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Go Hour, presented by the Warehouse at CC Creations. Here's JT on the chat on YouTube. By the way, go like on YouTube, please. Subscribe to our channel. It helps the algorithm, yada, yada, yada. I ask sometimes. You guys sometimes do it. Sometimes you ignore me, and Nick gets very upset with that.
Do it for me, please.
Do it for Cali.
Do it for Cali.
Do it for America.
They'd probably do it for Cali before they do it for me.
I'm going back to Cali. Another good song.
I don't know about that, Obi.
I know about that one, and I don't ever want to go back to Cali unless we're going back to Cali at the Social Center.
There's 2 versions. There's the one from LL Cool J, and then there's one by Biggie. I'm sure you
I just knew the LL Cool J.
Going. Okay, never mind. JT Morgan, I'm listening about 10 minutes behind, but question, can you really call this our best defensive line in 10 years with what we got, a big question mark? We're not saying that.
We're saying we were overreacting.
We're going to overreact to the talent that they have.
But
if everybody lives up to their potential.
You give me a defensive line with Shamar Turner, Shamar Stewart, Nick Scorton, and DJ Hicks, or Gabriel Brownlow-Dindy or somebody.
What if those 3 guys are first, second rounders, which is a possibility, by the way? Shamar Turner on some NFL draft analysis is a first rounder. Nick Scorton, absolutely. And if Stewart lives up to what we think he can have, the kind of year we think he can have, first or second round. If those 3 guys are top 2 round picks,
well, then you got probably a 10-win season.
Yeah. So maybe. Let's overreact to that.
Let's overreact to that.
All right, let's do our performance of the week. Do you have a performance in mind, Obi? I didn't ask you before this one.
It was kind of hard. I will say this. I thought Chris Cortez was really good, but in his
he was really good.
Yeah, I thought he was really good.
No doubt about that one.
Of course, I thought Shane Sadeo was really good.
Well, I bet you there's a graphic for Shane Sadeo as well, because we know what you're thinking, OB. We get inside your head. 3 1/3 innings pitched. You're allowed 1 run, 2 walks, 3 strikeouts. He was great. Can we give Caden Kent some love?
We should.
Look at that.
Yeah, I mean that. I think you got to let that guy play a little more.
It's hard with his lineup.
I know, but
7 RBI. You had the granny. You had 3 for 4 in the Charlton game and the LSU at bat.
They're getting some work at first base
Yeah.
as long as our man Burton's out.
Teddy B.
I expect to see Caden Kent tonight when I'm at Bluebell Park watching the game.
Yep. Let's go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center Cali. There's a couple more on the list. Would you like to help us out with these?
I would love to.
As you open up the rundown and look at the next one, which is
I
the
got-
number 13 Texas A&M women's tennis
team. They secured their 55th straight win at home this season to punch their ticket to the Super Regional for the 5th year in a row after sweeping number 18 Oklahoma at the Mitchell Tennis Center on Sunday 4-0.
Watch this. Ready? Go.
Dreamweaver.
That was the creepiest dream
Oh,
I've ever heard.
I have a terrible voice.
Could you imagine waking up to somebody in your ear saying
But you know
it?
what? Oh, the guy. Well, yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah. I can only imagine.
It's Irma. She calls me the Dreamweaver, baby.
Yeah, or the nightmare.
Yeah, well, that too. But the Dreamweaver getting it done now, 5 years in a row.
That guy's great.
He really is.
And we know he's great. He's still underrated.
Yeah, he deserves more than having to hear me sing to
the Dreamweaver
to tribute him.
Also, always in a good mood. Nice human being.
And getting it done.
Getting it done, yo. By the way, we're going to have the men's tennis team, Steve Denton, on the show
Steve
later.
Denton's in it.
He's getting it done.
And
They're all getting it done.
We're like a country club around here with the way golf and tennis is going.
Dominating. Speaking of Steve
Denton. And then they got a new, swimming and diving coach or something like that?
Sure did.
Let's let you. Why do I snap when I point? I think it's because they can't see me. I snap and I point. I feel very like I'm talking to my dogs. Social Center. Come here, Social Center. Can you give us the last one, please?
Absolutely. J.C. Roddick fought to a 3-set victory to send A&M and the men's tennis team to a super regional, which they will play the Longhorns in Austin on Friday. And the Longhorns are a 2 seed in the NCAA tournament.
They're good.
They're good.
They're pretty good.
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of people in our state that play tennis. Of course, is there anybody from our state on either tennis team? Right?
I don't know. Anyway, we'll have Steve Denton, I don't know how to respond, on the show in a little bit. All right, this is what we're going to do. We're going to hit a break. When we come back, Charean Williams is going to join us here on TexAgs Radio. We got some Cowboy stuff to get into. We'll talk about some big picture things when it comes to A&M sports. After that, in the 9 o'clock hour, we'll do our breakdown of Arkansas with John Nabors. We did our ceiling and our, what did I call it? Boomer Bust last week. We'll talk to an actual insider about it, Steve Denton, after that. Tara Henry on softball after that. Tom Hart, yay, and JB Moss all on the program. Right now, though, we're talking ground shuttle. They offer frequent and reliable shuttles from Bryan College Station to George Bush Intercontinental Airport in Houston. If you want to commute in luxury and just have no stress and actually keep your prices down, you need to think about reaching out to Ground Shuttle out there. They've got reclining seats. They've got power outlets. You can catch up on your work emails, read a book. Shuttle driver takes care of all the driving out there. It's a convenient location, right, in South College Station, next to the Casa de Brazil in South College Station. Get dropped off at your office or utilized for convenient and secured on-site parking for free for the first 4 days out there. They run 9 shuttles weekdays, every hour and a half, and 5 shuttle times on the weekends. Excellent for business travelers and commuters out there. I know a lot of students who use it as well. It's a big time of year to obviously try to get to the airport to get back to your families out there, or if you're a big-time business traveler, let this be the way to go. I mean, why spend all the money on parking and the headache and walking? And OB and I both know you go to Bush sometimes, you can't park there. So let them take care of you. They are charter for in-town and out-of-town travel anywhere in Texas, door-to-door out there, hassle-free to get your groups to sporting events, concerts, corporate meetings, and dinners. You name it, they'll take care of you. Shuttle services seat up to 14 passengers. The website is groundshuttle.com. That is groundshuttle.com. Call them up, 855-303-4415. Ground Shuttle. Let them do the driving.
You know who that is?
Who is it?
It's Alan Jackson.
AJ.
Yeah.
I know the song.
One of my favorites.
Yeah, I like Alan Jackson.
Yeah, he's very talented.
Good head of hair.
Yeah.
Quality head of hair.
Yeah. Had that mustache that worked for him.
Like Tom Selleck.
About 6'5".
Could beat people up. Right on.
He's kind of a laid-back guy.
Nice.
Yeah.
We're just making comments here. TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rallo Insurance Studio. It's the Go Hour, presented by the Warehouse at CC Creations. Let's go to the hotline. Charean Williams joining us here from Pro Football Talk, the Aggie Hall of Famer, joining us on the program. Charean, good morning.
Good morning. How are we doing?
We're good. We're good. Sports in Dallas seem to be going pretty well. You got the Stars taking on the Avs now, moving on. You got the Mavs moving on, taking on Oklahoma City.
Yeah, a little excitement, I think, and obviously those teams have had more playoff success than the Cowboys have had.
Who has
in recent years? Sorry, Olin.
Well, you throw in the Rangers there,
right?
The Cowboys are now the worst sports franchise in Dallas,
in Texas.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're the worst.
Yeah,
The Spurs are pretty miserable right now.
Rockets are not good. Spurs are not good, and the Astros obviously this year are not good. But yeah, the Cowboys have had less success in recent years than I think other franchises in the state have, other than maybe if you're talking. It depends on how far you go back, but the Rockets and the Spurs, they just have not had much playoff success. They have 5 playoff wins since their last Super Bowl in 1995.
You know, the difference, though, is, I think, and tell me if I'm wrong here, guys, the Rockets and Spurs both have young talent that, if they figure it out, and that's still an if, they're heading in the right direction, while the feeling is for the Cowboys, an older team.
Are they that old?
Well,
I don't know.
I would disagree with that. I think they've got a lot of young talent, and when you look at it, they've got one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. He's getting paid like it, whether you agree or disagree with that statement. They've got one of the best, if not the best, defensive player in football. I think Myles Garrett would have a case. T.J. Watt would have a case, but Michael Parsons is right up there in the top 5 of talent there, and you're going to pay him like it. CeeDee Lamb, one of the best receivers in the NFL, you're going to pay him like a top 5 receiver. They've got talent, and they've got young talent. They draft very, very well, but they just can't seem to put it together, and I don't think they manage their salary cap very well. So they don't have the money to build around them. But, you know, it's different, obviously, than basketball, where you need fewer players and fewer really good players. Because I would say the Cowboys have 3 of the best players at those positions I just named in the NFL. And you start looking at some other positions, and, you know, I'd say Tyler Smith is one of the best left guards in football. And he's going into his 3rd year. But they can't seem to get it together for whatever the reason is, and right now I think it's that they can't manage their salary cap real well, and so they don't have the money or haven't fiddled with their salary cap to make the money to have a chance to win a Super Bowl. I think we'd all agree, even Cowboys fans would agree, that this does not look like a Super Bowl team in any way, shape, or form.
Right, yeah, you were saying all these guys that ranked in the top 5, right? So where would you rank them in coaching, in front office, in scouting?
Yeah, you know, I do think they're one of the best drafting
I know where
teams.
I would.
There's no question about that. You
Really?
would?
I know where I would rank, like McCarthy, probably bottom 5. But anyway, okay. Do they really draft? Do you feel like they drafted well last year and this year?
Last year they did not draft real well, but it's early. I'm going to give those guys another chance.
Okay.
Schoonmaker came in and was hurt, and, you know, Mozzie Smith, I don't think they used him right. I think Mike Zimmer will use him correctly.
Okay.
I do think he can play, so I'm going to give him a break and give him one more year on that draft class. But you're right, that was not so far has not been a really great draft class. But overall, I would say since Will McClay came in and put his stamp on things, they have drafted pretty well. They've made some mistakes, especially in the 2nd round, but their 1st-round picks have been really good when we talk about those players, CeeDee Lamb and Michael Parsons and some of those guys they've gotten in the 1st round. Tyler Smith have been really good players for them, Pro Bowl, All-Pro players, and so they have done well. And then they found some guys deep in the draft.
Talking to Charean Williams here on TexAgs Radio. So Dak says he wants to be there long term. You got CeeDee Lamb not showing up for these off-season voluntary workouts that are going on, or whatever they're doing that right now. Is it off-season workouts? What they're calling it?
Yeah, voluntary off-season workouts. Yes, they haven't gotten to the organized team activity portion of the process yet, but that's coming up.
So, are there concerns about CD, or is it still just too early to worry about that?
What I would worry about, it's way too early to worry about. I mean, Michael Parsons isn't showing up either. A lot of these guys don't show up. I mean, the Chiefs do theirs all. I mean, Patrick Mahomes and his receivers are sitting in Fort Worth working out in Fort Worth. They're not in Kansas City. So there's really no concern at this point about that. The concern will be if he doesn't show up for the mandatory minicamp, and then he doesn't show up for training camp, and then you're starting to worry a little bit, and then, he may start to press things a little bit. And then when the season comes, if he doesn't show up for the start of that, then I think you're in a little bit of trouble. This team's not going to win many games without CeeDee Lamb when you start thinking about the other weapons that they have around Dak for him to throw to. I just don't know that there's going to be a lot of success there if you don't have CeeDee in your starting lineup. They're just not going to score a whole lot of points not having a number one receiver. So they need him to show up. My guess is he's not going to show up until he gets a contract. I wouldn't show up until I got a new contract, but there's that fear of injury that's going to end your career, and you may not ever see that second contract. I get why these guys do it. When they have the opportunity, they need to get every cent they can possibly get, because there may be no tomorrow in this game. As we all know, guys get career-ending injuries all the time. It happens, and you don't want to be in that position where you really don't get your huge payday that's going to set up you and your family for lifetimes to come.
I would think that you'd want to get it done as a team earlier, because it never goes. The value rarely goes down. Like, for instance, right? You tell me if I'm wrong on this, Charean. Yeah. They had a chance one year to if they would have given Dak Prescott what he wanted. Didn't Dak Prescott end up getting like $10 million more than they could have had him if they had signed him the previous year?
Yeah,
something
it took
crazy.
2 years to do that contract. It took 2 years to do that contract. If you'd done it initially, the 2 years earlier, they would have saved a ton of money. They've been better off in the cap right now, but they didn't. They wait and they wait and they wait, and the price only goes up. In the case of CeeDee Lamb, it's only going to go up because Justin Jefferson's going to do a new deal, and Devon Chase is going to do a new deal. AJ, it's already gone up because AJ Brown just did a new deal. So these things are just going to keep rising. Like, it's not going to go down. And so they need to do these things sooner than later. They should have done it before the start of free agency. They should have done Dak before the start of free agency. That would have lowered his cap number. You would have had him done. Then you could have started working on CD, and probably would have been close on CD now, if not have that deal done. So, yes, they've waited way too long on all these deals. I don't know why they do that, but you're going to risk losing all of these guys if you keep waiting. And they may start this season without CeeDee Lamb. So that's a concern, back to the original question, is that you start the season without CeeDee Lamb. Ezekiel Elliott in last year, Ezekiel Elliott was previous when he got his second contract. And then last year with Zach Martin, they held out well into training camp, and you got worried that they weren't going to show up for the start of the season. So the Cowboys panicked and then probably I know they overpaid for Zeke. That was a bad contract for the Cowboys. But again, they waited too long on both of those. You got to get contracts done, and you got to get them done early, and you pay less money in the long run when you do that.
Talking to Charean Williams. Hey, Charean, last thing for you. We talked about an article overreacting to things happening in college football. One of those about A&M lost too much in the portal. Do you think A&M lost too much in the portal this year, football-wise?
Well, I would be comparing it to last year and the year before, and I just don't think there was that much lost in the portal myself. I mean, Walter Nolan's a good player, and Evan Stewart's a good player, but Evan was always hurt, so we didn't see enough of him really when the games mattered. So, no, I don't think there was that much lost in the portal. I think that Mike Elko has really cleaned things up in the sense of you have players who want to be here, you have players who want to work hard. If they don't want to work hard, they're not going to be there because this strength and conditioning staff is the best in the country. Mike Elko has really turned all that around, and you're going to work, and you're going to be there, and you're going to perform, or you're not going to play for A&M. And so I think I like where they are right now. What's this year hold? I have no idea, but I know the long-term future is great for this program. Mike Elko is going to be really good. He's going to bring a championship to College Station. I have no doubt about that. Now, a lot of things have to fall right for that to happen, but I just feel like the right things are in place right now.
Charean, great stuff as always. Thanks so much for making time.
Thank you, guys.
All right, Charean Williams there on the hotline. Let's hit a break here. Getting old sucks. Am I right?
Who you talking to?
Well, yeah, I'm a little bit behind you. But this is absolute the worst time of year to be dealing with joint pain out there, and you can't do all the outdoor stuff that you love to do. Like if you'd like to go hiking, you like to do jiu-jitsu like OB does, biking, you name it. All those things that you want to do, play on the beach, jump rope, you can't do it because your joint pain. Well, then you need to reach out to somebody and get some help at QC Kinetics. Don't go through another summer without living the life that you want to live, the life that you used to live. Call QC Kinetics right now and find out how they can use biologics from your own body to give you new life to your achy joints there in your knees, your hips, your back, and your shoulder. It is regenerative medicine, and these protocols can restore and repair that damaged tissue with no surgery, no steroids, no downtime. It is the future of medicine. Tens of thousands of QC patients around the country are living their best life because they made the call. And you can be one of those people right here in the Brazos Valley. They'll take care of you immediately. QC medical professionals are under the direction of Dr. Mitchell Shinecup, who was an orthopedic surgeon and became a true pioneer in regenerative medicine. He knew there had to be a better way of doing it, and they have found that way at QC Kinetics. Call them up right now for your free consultation on revolutionary treatments in joint pain are here. The number is 979-452-6000. QC Kinetics, 979-452-6000. That is 979-452-6000. Estamos aquí, TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio, Go Hour, presented by The Warehouse at CC Creations. Let's go back to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Aggies gather at the Angry Elephant. Callie Gardner's there. Callie, I know we have a couple of text messages to read. Do you have, I think you have it on the 8 o'clock rundown, A&M did have a transfer on campus yesterday, a wide receiver transfer.
A wide receiver
I'll just read it because I just threw that one on you without thinking if you had it. Here's one. Jacob Bostic on campus yesterday. He's the Iowa wide receiver. Bronny has that. If you're not on TexAgs.com, if a premium subscriber, you're missing out as people come to campus. All the deets. Go to TexAgs.com and become a premium subscriber. But a guy that apparently had a lot of talent. Now, he was at Iowa, who's not known for their offense.
The worst offense in the country.
But talent, as we know, sometimes it's the system you're in.
Yes, it is. Because, think of it this way. If Devon Aching's in a better system, he might have won the Heisman Trophy.
Just give him the ball against Ole Miss.
Not going to – or LSU or it's 2 years or 3 years ago. It's not necessarily, like you say, you can't necessarily judge a guy based on the system he was in because it'll hold you down sometimes.
Sometimes the system you're in provides a fake – the stats aren't the truth, right? It's the system. There are quarterbacks. Remember, we'd see what's his name?
Tim Tebow.
Tim Tebow. Well, I'm a Tim Tebow guy, though.
Yeah, he
winner.
Yes, they won. Of course, with that defense, they were going to win.
Yeah, they had a great defense. All right, we'll go back to Callie Gardner for some of those text messages before we hit a break.
Yeah, honestly, it's interesting that we bring that up about him from Iowa because we had 3 text messages about just the news on adding wide receivers this year. Someone said their overreaction was not getting any wide receivers in the portal.
Well, they got Cyrus Allen.
Yeah. And look.
Isn't that his name?
Yeah, that's his
From
name.
Louisiana Tech?
And if Jabri Barber doesn't get hurt,
if he doesn't,
and who knows when he'll be back. Is he back this season? Is he back next season? Who knows? But they got a couple guys they were very happy with. You lose Jabri Barber, now you kind of have to add another dude. And it's not going to be like this alpha A dog like – Antonio, well, let me use a different wide receiver, a Mike Evans. You're probably not going to find a Mike Evans.
Or Keon Coleman from last year.
Correct.
Yeah.
Who, by the way, I saw some behind-the-scenes
State
things with him. Pretty interesting young man. Yeah.
Okay.
I would like to have had him. Would have been nice.
Yeah. I'm sorry. We interrupted her.
Callie.
No, that was...
We're going back to Callie.
Back to me.
No, I don't think so.
You don't think so?
Isn't that how the song goes?
I actually have no idea.
Oh.
I feel like I should know.
Yeah,
I was going back to Callie.
So that song came out in probably 1984?
Probably.
All right. So I was 8.
But let's go back to Callie, and we think so.
We think so. Yeah, that was really pretty much all we had, but really interesting I wanted to bring up really fast. I know we haven't talked about this much, but Clemson, Dabo Swinney has yet to add a commit through the transfer portal in this offseason. They've lost 13 players, but they haven't added one.
Hey, you know what? Evolve or die, but I appreciate Dabo sticking to his guns. It ain't going to work, buddy. Like in today's world, you kind of have to evolve.
Unless he has a roster that's ready and he knows it.
Right.
I heard a guy, a journalist, ripping on the Cowboys, though, for not drafting in the 7th round Will Shipley, the running back from – and he says, Will Shipley's better than anybody they got it. And I'm like, Will Shipley? Will Shipley.
Will Shipley. That's where we are.
Will Shipley. That's where we are.
Obie, thank you, sir.
You bet.
When we come back on TexAgs Radio, we'll do an Arkansas breakdown with our buddy John Nabors, who covers them there in Fayetteville. We'll get into
Just
that.
one of the Neighbors.
He's from the Natty State Report. We'll talk to him. Steve Denton after that. Tara Henry after that. It's TexAgs Radio presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. All right, we're back here on TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Let's talk a little Arkansas football. We did our series, or we started our series last week, Boom or Bust, and we talked about how high we think the season could go for Arkansas next year and how low it could go. Let's talk to an insider, John Nabors, who joins us, the owner and founder of Natty State Report, host of Locked On Hog. He's here with us. What's going on, buddy?
Hey, what's going on? It's good to talk with you once again, my man.
Hey, it looks like your studio is a little bit different. Like you've added a little bit to the collection. Am I right?
Yeah, it's a slow process of gaining some memorabilia to really make it me. I'm obviously a very good interior decorator to make it look really nice. So it's just basically any type of random crap I can find that I can put on a board behind me or an oversized bottle of vodka. I feel like it fits me.
It fits you. Yeah, let's get into Arkansas this year. Like, I'm not high on them, okay? You lose KJ Jefferson. You have a tough schedule, a very tough schedule. How high or low are you when it comes to Arkansas this year?
Well, I guess if you're looking at it from being higher than what it was a year ago, then yeah, because I do believe they will be a better team than a year ago, but they went 4-8. So it's not like it's really asking a whole lot of improvement. But you mentioned the tough schedule. That's just a tale as old as time. That's a recurring thing with Arkansas. They always have one of the toughest schedules, mainly because they don't have Arkansas on their schedule. That always helps. But I believe that there's been some moves made that could potentially make this team better, especially offensively. I mean, the offense was horrendous last season, and offensive line was bad, but they've had an overhaul. Obviously, somebody that the Aggies know and Arkansas knows really well, Bobby Petrino, being the new offensive coordinator, new quarterback with Taylon Green, the transfer from Boise. Feels like at least it'll be better. But the defense, big question mark there too. Lost pretty much your entire linebacking core. Returned some key components. But I think right now the highest, 7-5 would be the best case scenario, to be honest. 6-6 would be fine. But yeah, it's really hard to find reasons to believe that Arkansas is going to be a great football team this year in the SEC.
So I did a boom or bust on them last week, and my boom was 7-5. I believe my bust was 4-8. Like, that's kind of how I saw them. Is it possible, looking at that schedule, that Sam Pittman is not around when the Tennessee game comes October the 5th?
Oh, yeah. I believe that's absolutely possible. In fact, we were going through the schedule ourselves here at Natty State and kind of just looking at the difficulty, which Arkansas's toughest games, luckily for them, are at home. But again, last year, their worst performances were at home. So who really knows what that means? But still, the key component, the key game to all of this is going to be week 2 against Oklahoma State on the road in Stillwater. Oklahoma State's always one of those teams that seems to be perennially between 7 to 10 wins. I mean, they're always going to be a tough team. And if Arkansas loses that game, and then 2 weeks later they go on the road to Auburn, and then after that they play A&M in Arlington, like away from home, I mean, it could really spiral out of control pretty quickly. And if that ends up being the case, I don't think that there'll be any hesitation. They'll make a move, more than likely promote Petrino as the head coach if that ended up happening. But I think the doomsday scenario would be if Arkansas gets off that rough start, and who knows, by SEC play, and really when it gets going, at least at home, you could be seeing an interim coach, Bobby Petrino, just like we all predicted a year ago that could be happening at Arkansas.
I'm sure you did. Let's talk about KJ Jefferson and his time at Arkansas. Why did he end up leaving? Is it because he didn't see a future there, that they could get over this hump? Because a couple years ago, they were the darlings of the SEC.
Yeah, I think that there were a few factors into it, mainly due when Petrino got hired. Sam Pittman told Petrino to go get your quarterback. Go find you a quarterback, somebody in the transfer portal, and he went and did and found Taylon Green. He's always liked Taylon Green. It's always kind of been his guy, so it worked out. And I think KJ really saw the writing on the wall. It's like, hey, this ain't going to work with me and Petrino. Petrino is not my type of coach. I'm not his type of quarterback, so I'm going to move on. I think it was partly that, and also just like we see so many times in sports, sometimes it runs its course. Sometimes it's like, hey, you've been here for 4 years, 5 years. You've had a lot of great moments, but I think it's just time to make a change and move on. And I think it was in the best case for both sides to move on. KJ had a lot of great moments here at Arkansas, but the ending of it and how it was dealing with some of his NIL, and from what I understand, just it felt like it was time for him to move on. And so he thought about going to the NFL before the season started. Didn't have a great year. Nobody felt like he was draftable. So went to the portal. Now he's at UCF with Gus Malzahn. So we wish him nothing but the best, but it just felt like it was both parties and both sides time to move on and try something different.
Talk to me about Taylon Green. Why are they so high on him? What did they see at Boise State, and why is it somebody that Bobby Petrino has really been interested in for a long time?
Yeah, Bobby Petrino talked about even when he was at Missouri State, he was wanting to recruit Taylon Green, but he knew he wasn't going to go to Missouri State. He just really liked the fact that he's a big, able-bodied quarterback. We know Petrino has always had a thing for tall quarterbacks. Taylor Green is about 6'6", 6'5", 6'6". Really tall guy with a lot of athleticism, can really run. And I think that's what they liked about him at Boise State is his athleticism and his game-breaking ability. He throws a really nice deep ball. We saw that a little bit in the spring game. And his personality, too. We have had a chance here at Natty State to talk with him a few times. And he has been so appreciative. He's been so approachable. The team loves him. Players love him. And he's the type of leader that you really need to lead this type of offense, which is kind of polar opposite of what they've had previously in previous years. So I feel like it's just the overall potential of what he could do with Petrino as his coach, with his athleticism, and also the system in place. Feels like he could really flourish in it, and something that maybe he didn't have at Boise State, he's going to be able to have now at Arkansas.
Talk to me about the offensive line. Sam Pittman teams traditionally have good offensive lines. The last couple of years have not been what we're used to seeing. I think there's a couple transfers that have come in. Talk to me about that position group.
Yeah, it was weird seeing how bad they were last year. You know, it's almost like seeing a Nick Saban team have an awful defense and awful linebacking core. Just like, how does this happen? Like, this is supposed to be your bread and butter, but Arkansas made some changes. They made a coaching change. Cody Kennedy left to go to Mississippi State, and they brought in Eric Mateos, who was most recently at Baylor, but was also a grad assistant for Sam Pittman, originally at Arkansas back in the mid-2010s. And they've just kind of done an overhaul. They brought in some really key transfers. Addison Nichols from Tennessee was a big one. Also, Fernando Carmona, who came from San Jose State. He was a highly regarded player out of the transfer portal. Blackstock, a Michigan State transfer that a lot of people are high on too. They just really brought in guys to not only add to the depth, but be like, hey, these are ones that we got to make sure that they're good, make sure we're focused on, and make sure we address. And I think they've done a really good job. In fact, those three transfers from the very get-go, and you could say this about the entire offense, and honestly, the quarterback situation, the offensive line situation, the starters have been set even as soon as spring practice started. Like that was set, and it has not changed. So they have done a good job of bringing in some key components. Josh Braun was one of the only offensive linemen last year that graded out pretty highly for Arkansas. He's returning. He's a great leader for them, and he's going to be a pivotal part of the continuity. But they've definitely made changes to the offensive line. How much better are they going to be? That's yet to be determined. But just looking at the personalities, the culture, and how they get along and how they feel about Coach Mateos, and also the more hands-on approach that Sam Pittman's doing with the offensive line in practices, you got to feel like it can't get much worse than last year, but it's got to make significant improvements in order to be better this year.
Talk to me about the backfield. Jaquindon Jackson is getting rave reviews out there.
I'm loving that guy, man. He is so much fun to watch. He's transferred from Utah. And again, just talks about the body, the look. He's about 6'2", 6'3", 235 pounds. And he really doesn't have a weakness. It's not to say that he's going to go out there and be perfect, but he's got speed. He's got strength. He hits the hole as hard as any running back I've seen here in a long time. And he has showcased his abilities so far in spring. And we know that running back positions may not be as what they used to be. And, guys getting 35 carries a game doesn't really happen as often. But it's going to be by committee, because not only do you have him, but you have a guy like Rashad Dabinian coming back, who was last year one of the better running backs for Arkansas. And a guy to watch for is the new freshman running back, Braylon Russell. He's from Arkansas, but that dude is an absolute unit. He's about 6'1", 240 pounds. He is a guy that's going to hopefully, for Arkansas' sake, get him some short yard situation success, because they've been desperately needing that. But I really like the running back room. I know that they lost a couple guys to the transfer portal, but they still got a lot of talent. And I think Jaquindon Jackson, in my opinion, is going to be the biggest and most important piece to this offense. And it wouldn't surprise me at all if he got 1,000 yards this year, assuming that he stays healthy.
All right, take me through the stages of being an Arkansas fan when it comes to Bobby Petrino. We know the good days, we know the bad days. The Missouri State game a couple of years ago, how close that one was. Last year with Texas A&M. What have you seen from the fandom? What have you seen from Bobby Petrino? How is he kind of acclimating back to that community?
It's so surreal sometimes, like going to these spring practices that I went to and seeing Petrino out there with the Razorback hat on again. It's surreal, but I think I speak for almost all Razorback fans that they are pumped. That was really the only thing you could have done if you're Sam Pittman to find some sort of excitement coming back next year, because people were done with him. They wanted Sam Pittman fired. You can't go from 9 wins to 7 wins to 4 wins and keep your job. You just can't do it. But that was the only move that they could make, and they made it, and it's been awesome. It's just been awesome. Petrino's been so appreciative, and he's been very back into the community and loves it. But I think the one thing, I'm not saying it'll for sure work, but the one thing that people are pointing to maybe why this works out for Arkansas is that Sam Pittman, he's not a guy who's like, oh, I've been an offense coordinator forever, like Jimbo, and now I feel like it's a forced hire or something like that. Pittman's like, you take the offense. Here's the keys. Do whatever you want. Get the players you want. Hire the assistant coaches you want. I'm going to be over here coaching the offensive line. I'll be over here if you need me. And that's where it might actually work out for Arkansas if that is what Pittman has truly done and just given it all to Petrino and say, this is your offense. We're going to run it the way you want to, and I'll be over here to call timeouts. It's just that simple. So I think Razorback fans overall, the reception of it has been awesome. It gives closure. I don't know if this team's going to win 10 games. They're not, but it's going to give closure to Razorback fans where in 2010, 2011, when Petrino was the head coach, they went 21-5. Those were the glory years of Arkansas, and they haven't done that ever since. They haven't really got close. So if anything, this will provide closure for Razorback fans and being able to see the similar offenses that they remember seeing for so many years that were so exciting with Tyler Wilson and Ryan Mallett and all those great players. That's at least going to provide some interest and give a feeling of, nostalgia for Razorback fans in a good way because they desperately need something to feel good about in football.
Help me understand, though, what's the thinking by bringing back Pittman another year? Financially, is it that? Is it that they really do believe in him and he's such a nice guy, a likable guy, and they know he can be better? I'm trying to understand with the way college football is evolving, why you bring him back another year and almost delay the inevitable. That's what it feels like.
Trust me, I feel the same way. It was a shocking move where especially before the Petrino hire was even made, I think everybody was like, this can't work. This can't be. But, you'll hear from the athletic directors and everybody, oh, well, we believe in Pittman. We believe that whatever. That's not the case. What it is it comes down to a financial decision. And Sam Pittman had a buyout that's not incredibly large, but larger than Arkansas is willing to pay, especially with a lot of the stuff that they have going on, facilities and whatnot. And they also look at it as they want to be able to give this one more shot with Pittman because he is easy to work with. He is somebody that has at least had one really good year for Arkansas just a few years ago at 9-4. They know that he's capable of being a guy that can be a great head coach that can get them to at least a competitive nature. But this is where it really comes down to me, David. I believe that no matter what happens this season, it's Sam Pittman's last year. I believe this is it. If he has a bad year, he'll be fired. But if he has even a solid year, decent year, go 7-5, I think he's going to retire. I think he's going to say, I've had it. This NIL stuff, this transfer portal stuff, it's not what I signed up for when I became head coach. It's not what I like. So I'm going to go down to Hot Springs on Lake Hamilton and look at my boat every day. And when that happens, I think there's going to be, again, this is just my reckless assumption, I think there's going to be a massive push for getting Barry Odom to be the head coach at Arkansas next, getting him from UNLV. And with that, keeping Petrino on as offensive coordinator, assuming that Arkansas's offense goes well, because for those who don't remember, Barry Odom hired Bobby Petrino at UNLV before he became the OC over at Texas A&M. So I feel like if I was going to just paint a picture of the future, I think that's what happens. And will it be great? Will that be the best hire? Time will tell. But Barry Odom's done a pretty good job in his 1 year at UNLV. And if he has another great year this year, I think that would be the smoothest and easiest transition for Arkansas to make, assuming that Sam Pittman steps down at the end of the season.
John, let's kind of go down that track for a second. They go 5-7. Let's just say under that, they have a rough year. 7-5, the high year, 5-7. That's another year removed from being somewhat good. Another year of a new system. It'll be Bobby Petrino's offense. It potentially would be the same offense. But it's just the other teams are getting better, and Arkansas is still 2-3 feet behind where they should be.
Yeah. It's like I look at what they have going on, and maybe even with the John Calipari thing in basketball, I think there's some fans that be like, oh, well, if Sam Pittman gets fired, they'll just hire Nick Saban because they could pay that. It's not going to be that. But it is a scenario that you have to actually take seriously. And look at Razorback fans for all they're great in every sport. That's the thing, is they are great in every sport. They have potential to win a championship in every other sport except football. And there's a lot of reasons to that. But I think Razorback fans overall, when it comes to their expectation, they just want to have a coach that can get to 6 to 8 wins, average 7 every season, and then every 3, 4, or 5 years, get to that 9 to 10 win range. You do that, you keep your job, and everyone loves you. They think that they're still capable of that, but they know that Pittman is he loves Arkansas, he loves being here. But like you said, people are getting better. Other teams are getting better. And like Arkansas seeing a team like Ole Miss, for instance, who they feel like has been kind of on their level, getting so much better. They see Missouri having that 1 year last year under Drinkwitz. It's like Missouri, that's a joke. How could they be good, but we can't be good? So that's a mentality that Razorback fans have, where it's not that they're expecting a national championship in football, but they're looking at other teams in the SEC that they feel like they're on par with and saying, if they can do it, why can't we? So John, that's going to be terrible thing to think about, another great banner season to cover at the football side of things if it happens. But let's hope that at least this makes it a little bit more competitive just for the sake of everyone here.
I think it's been more than I thought, but it's been 2-3 seasons since that epic Ole Miss Arkansas game that came down to the wire, the 50-plus game. So, like, to see where Ole Miss is now and where Arkansas has fallen. I want to go through their schedule quickly and just throw you some of the 50-50 games. And, and I don't even know if some of these are 50-50 games. Oklahoma State, they've lost some guys. Is that a 50-50 game? Does Arkansas have a chance going to Stillwater there? There's the Auburn game, which I think Auburn's going to be super improved this year, especially their wide receiver room. I'm not going to call the A&M game a 50-50 game because A&M has owned that series. Even though they're close typically. Mississippi State, maybe a 50-50 game. There's a lot of these games that I can't make an argument today that Arkansas would win.
No, I mean, I'm with you. Trust me, I'm with you. I can't sit there and say with full confidence that, oh, yeah, Arkansas is going to win this game minus playing UAPB and Little Rock on Thursday night to start the season. Like that's probably the best one I can look at and be, oh, yeah, for sure, they'll win that one. But no, I'm with you. It's really, again, it goes back to that Oklahoma State game. The reason I look at that as a 50-50 matchup is because, that you feel like that's where it usually goes pretty well. People are most healthy right now, and you get that extra week and a half technically to get prepared for Oklahoma State. And so if you're able to do that, go on the road and with an experienced offense, especially an experienced quarterback, especially, I think that there could be an element to where they go in there and win. And if they do, then it's going to set them apart. But I guess another hope is that Oklahoma State usually finishes a lot stronger than they start during the season. So maybe you can lean on that. But yeah, that's what's interesting for Razorback fans is it's like they could beat Mississippi State, depending on what Mississippi State is. They could beat an Auburn team if they're as improved as what people feel like, but there's still some uncertainties there. And, the A&M game, I'm not saying Arkansas fans feel like they're winning because, as you mentioned, it's the stupidest game that everyone hates because it's always so annoying and so weird.
I love it.
I mean, they don't really know what Elko is going to do, so who knows? Maybe that's a game that they can at least find a way to win. So right now, I think everybody feels the same way you do. There's not really a lot of confidence in these, quote, 50-50 games you mentioned.
All right, so let's end for some positivity for Arkansas because I feel like I was a Debbie Downer there, and I apologize to the Arkansas audience listening. Coach Cal, obviously that is big news out there. It's been popping. Just what's the buzz like now, a couple of weeks removed, and also getting all these transfers and what the future could look like for Arkansas basketball?
Well, it's been pretty insane. And you talk about surreal having Bobby Petrino on campus. I think it's even double surreal of having John Calipari as the head coach of Arkansas. I mean, it's just unreal. But it's something to where, at least I know on my show and a lot of the content that we've been putting out here at Natty State, football doesn't exist. It's almost some people are like, hey, let's just skip football season. Let's get to basketball. Like, let's just go there because there has not been a more exciting time for Razorback basketball maybe since the Nolan Richardson days. Because not only do you have Calipari, who's a larger-than-life celebrity in the basketball game as your head coach, but he's bringing in some of the top recruits. He's got the number 2 recruiting class in the country out of high school. He's got the number 1 recruiting class in the transfer portal. He's bringing in guys that you didn't think that you would be able to have a chance to get. They got to prove it on the court, but the buzz, the energy, the excitement, Arkansas is a basketball school now. I think they've always kind of been, but that's the feeling like they feel like they've arrived, that this is going to be something that will be game-changing for the next few years. And the amount of attention that's being paid to Razorback basketball is something that Razorback fans are really excited about, and the energy could not be higher. So it's been awesome, and it's been great for content-wise, too, because I don't think people care enough about spring football. Basketball season didn't go very well, but Calipari and the soft season and adding these players, man, you talk about getting people hyped every single day. It seems like that's all people want to talk about.
Coach Cal's obviously known as a better coach than Eric Musselman, but it felt like the bottom was falling out when Musselman ended up leaving. Are they in a better position now because of Coach Cal?
Oh, absolutely. And the thing is I love Coach Muss. Like, I've had a good working relationship with Coach Muss, and I think most Razorback fans, even though this past season wasn't great, they still have an appreciation. I mean, he went 8-3 in 3 seasons in the NCAA tournament. I mean, that's incredible. But what's helped this whole thing, and again, I think I speak for most Razorback fans, once Calipari got hired, Muss isn't even a thought anymore because it's just people aren't bitter or upset of the breakup. They're like, oh, okay, this is great. We're moving on. It's kind of like going from a Houston Nutt to a Bobby Petrino like they did, or a Mike Anderson to a Eric Musselman. You feel like you upgraded. You feel like you're doing just fine, and you're like, hey, Coach Muss, appreciate what you did. That's great, but we're taking another step in the right direction. So again, nothing but praise for Muss, but people are just fine with Calipari and feeling in a lot better place moving forward with him as head coach.
John, great stuff, buddy. Thanks so much for making time.
Appreciate you guys, as always. Thank you.
Thank you very much there. John Nabors, Natty State Report. He does great work there and love getting him on the program. Hang out a little bit there at SEC Media Days. We're going to hit a break. When we come back, Steve Denton's going to be in studio, talk a little bit about the Aggie men's tennis team. Right now, though, Rollo Insurance Time. They are the official insurance provider of TexAgs Radio. The difference is real, guys. They're an independent insurance company built around educating you on exactly what you're paying for, doing the shopping for you so that you can accomplish your insurance goals. We're all at different stages of life. Some of you got some college kids at home. I've got some boys that are about to start driving here in a couple weeks, and I've already started having the conversation. What's it going to cost me to add the boys to the insurance? Should I have one boy or both boys? Like, I don't care. They can share their driver's license. We don't need to have both. That's illegal, so I'm probably not going to do that. But the folks at Rollo Insurance are all about helping me find the right situation for my family, and that's what we're doing. We've talked to Morgan several times about the future, and that's what I think you should do, especially because they're so local. They're right here in town. Their headquarters is on Highway 6 right here in College Station. They can write any form of insurance to anyone in Texas and also several other states, and many of you are listening in other places. But here in Texas, they got 53 offices. Call them up, 888-44-ROLLO, or go to rolloinsurance.com. Again, that website is rolloinsurance.com. Call them up, 888-44-ROLLO. It's Rollo Insurance. The difference is real. Welcome back to TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. I want to remind you guys about preseason kickoff Saturday, July 27th. Make sure you go register there at texags.com/kickoff. Coach Schloss will be there. All the coaches are going to make an appearance. Hopefully Steve Denton will make an appearance there on July the 27th. Coach, how are you?
I'm doing great. How about you?
I'm well. So it was a fun weekend. Let's talk about it. Rice, San Diego State.
Right.
What'd you think about the performances?
Well, first of all, to get us back on track, I thought Rice was a really good match for us. They were a good enough team for us to be able to beat, but to give some confidence to the guys moving forward. And a couple of the guys specifically really played well. They had been struggling. Julio Perego had been struggling a bit. J.C. Roddick had been struggling a little bit. And both of them played outstanding matches, the first match at home. And I think that propelled them, obviously, to gain some confidence again for us to be able to do as well as we did over the weekend.
Yeah, no doubt about that. And you were telling me at the break the crowds really helped, especially against San Diego State.
They really did. San Diego was a really good team. They had beaten Stanford and Arizona, and both of those teams are still in the tournament. Stanford ended up beating Oklahoma in their region, and Arizona held serve at home. And so both of them are still in, and they had beaten both of them comfortably. So I knew we were going to have a fight on our hands, which we did, and our guys responded really well.
And we're going to talk more about crowds here in a minute when we talk about going to Austin. But for the seniors, being able to finish on a high note, especially considering how they thought things ended earlier.
That's right. Yeah, it was a pretty low part of our season when we lost that final home match on Senior Day, 4-3 to Arkansas. And we didn't want it to finish like that, and our guys got an opportunity, to host at home. And, our seniors got to, especially Rafael Perot and Kenner Taylor, they got to experience something great, which was to win those first two rounds of the NCAA tournament.
Let's go back to JC and his performance, especially huge at the end.
He had lost the first set. He was kind of even in the second, and he just got a second wind, it looked like. Mm-hmm. And early in the third set, when Julio Perego had clinched his match with a 10-8 tiebreaker in the third set to give us a 3-2 lead against San Diego, I went over there to that court. And in that game, he was love 40 down in his serve at 2-all in the third set. So getting ready to be down a break. And he hit boom, boom, boom. He hit three great serves and then hit a good serve and then a great backhand to win the game. And from there, that really propelled him, got that energy he needed to get to the finish line, and was able to secure the win for us by playing a really great third set.
Can that propel him in Austin as well? Like that you hope so, right?
I'll let you know about 9 o'clock on Friday night. It certainly gives you a lift, especially since of the lull we had toward the end of the season, to believe again. And, they're motivated, obviously. They don't know what they're up against at this point still. But I like what's happened. We had a comfortable win. We had a really hard match against San Diego, and now we'll face the ultimate test on Friday night.
Yeah, let's talk about that test too, because number 2 team in the country, they have a lot of history, obviously. Just talk about the matchup itself.
Yeah, first of all, you can throw the records out the window when you have a rival school but I remember it. Kevin O'Shea remembers it. But some of these players, they don't know that rivalry because we haven't played them in quite a while. I think when we play Tiddlywinks against Texas, there's going to be a big crowd and a lot of interest. And this team is very good. Their number one player has been the number one player all season, Elliot Spizzirri, and Micah Braswell was number 2 in the country. And then they have some brothers from Belgium that are both really accomplished players. One of them, I believe, won the French Open last year and was the number 1 or number 2 junior in the world. And so they're good throughout. They have maybe 5 or 6 seniors on that team. And so they're going to want to obviously play their best in their last match at home. And they've got the NCAA doubles champion. Actually, he's playing number 3 doubles in Cleve Harper. So they've got a lot of talent. They're really well coached. They're a really good team. But having said that, there's a shot for us to win if we play our best tennis. And we've played the best teams in the country this year, except for them. I think probably they're the best maybe outdoor team. I think Ohio State's probably the best indoor team. And then Virginia, who's won the last 2 national championships, have been hurt some, and now they're well again. So they're the wild card in this year. But in order for us to get to Stillwater, to the final 8, we have to go through Austin. And, it'll be a challenge for us, but I know our guys are extremely excited about it.
Fair to say when you play your best, when your team plays their best, you can compete with anybody in the country.
We can. We're good in singles and doubles, and our guys compete very hard, and we're a very talented team, So a talented team with confidence, is dangerous. And, the good news for us is I feel like we can go up to Austin without a lot of expectations and go up there and really go after it and be really aggressive. And we'll see what happens. We'll see if that's good enough. But I like the opportunity and I like the chance, and it's great that our guys are still dancing, as I said earlier.
Coach Denton, last thing for you. Obviously, there's going to be a Rockets crowd there in Austin. It would help for some Aggies to come up and show up, just to have that maroon vibe out there.
It would, and typically a few do. So I'm hopeful that we'll get some presence there this weekend and spur our guys on. And it'll be an exciting match no matter what happens. But I'm happy for the way things are going thus far. And like I said, we just want to keep going.
Appreciate you very much. Thank you very much, Coach
Thank
Denton.
you for having me.
Thank you. Right now, caller number 1, we're going to give you a free car wash from Aggieland Express Car Wash in South College Station off of William D. Fitch in Greens Prairie. Aggie owned and operated with the friendliest staff and a personal touch. They offer a monthly membership, but we'll give the first caller a free car wash right now from Aggieland Express in South College Station, 979-693-1150. All right, we're back here on TexAgs Radio. We are presented by David Gardner's Jewelers here in the Rollo Insurance Studio. Let's talk a little softball SEC tournament about to get going. Tara Henry is joining us here on TexAgs Radio, the GM of Softball America, head coach of the Great Britain women's softball team. Tara, good morning. How are you?
I'm doing well, ready to talk some softball. Good morning. How are you?
Doing wonderful. Thanks for making a few minutes for us. Let's break it down. We're going to start off with A&M and just the and I'm going to go ahead and be biased, the tremendous job that Trisha Ford has done with this team here in 2 years.
Incredible. I'm just a huge fan of Trisha Ford, and I remember when she got the job just 2 years ago. I was on a local radio station, and just talked about how excited I was for Trisha Ford, because I think she's an incredible recruiter. I think she develops talent, and we're seeing the fruits of her labor here in just year two, in arguably the toughest conference across the country. So yes, huge Trisha Ford fan, and excited to see how the Ags do in the SEC tournament.
Yeah, no doubt about it. When you were to describe, how would you describe a Trisha Ford team? Obviously, we know about the development, the personality, but the way they tackle the game of softball.
They're just really gritty, and you can never count out her squad. And I think no matter what the score is, they're just constantly fighting every pitch, every at bat, whether they're on offense, whether they're on defense, and no lead is ever big enough. And they're just a gritty squad and compete every single pitch. And you don't really see that across the country. I think there's a lot of teams that do that, but when you see the Aggies play, and I'm sure that you're well aware, they're just a squad that rolls up their sleeves and gets it done any way possible.
Talking to Tara Henry here on TexAgs Radio. When we talk about this team, though, you got to talk about Emily Kennedy and the job she's done there in the circle. Just her growth, and she's become a dominant force this year.
Well, she's a tall lefty and is throwing gas from the left side, so that's hard to hit. And a 1.67 ERA on the season, 20 wins as well. Just a game changer in the circle. Again, Trisha Ford really taking that pitching staff to new heights, and she has been solid for the Aggies. With the 10 losses, that's tough going either way. But again, in the SEC, as we've seen, and we head into the SEC tournament, it's just a tough conference to pick wins up with. But a game changer in the circle in lefty for the Aggies.
Well, I was going to say this weekend wasn't their best weekend, but when we're talking about an SEC schedule and the top 10 teams in the country, it's like every sport littered with SEC teams.
Well, absolutely. And I think when you take a look at the SEC on any given weekend, any team can beat any other team. And that's what we're seeing. And, the bottom of the SEC is not necessarily the bottom of any other conference. And, we saw Ole Miss take 2 from Arkansas. That's the number 13 seed, taking 2 from the number 4 seed in the SEC this past weekend. So just really fun softball, really solid quality softball to watch. And again, heading into tonight, just the start of this SEC tournament, it's going to be wild. And I hope everybody has a chance to watch it.
Hey, let me ask you about another Aggie out there, Jazz Hill. Huge year this year. What have you seen from her growth?
Just huge. And what a great pickup for the Aggies. Was able to watch her, because I was out west for a while, was able to watch her at her previous squad. But again, gritty, an OPS of 1,100. Get out of here with that. And really has brought the energy to the Aggies and some great defensive plays. But just a huge pickup for Trisha Ford and the Aggies in the offseason, bringing not only Jazz Hill at the plate, but those leadership qualities too. And again, when you talk about that grit and you talk about competing every pitch, I think Jazz Hill is a huge part of that as well.
So what are some storylines or maybe some teams we're not thinking about in this SEC tournament? Is there a team that we need to watch out for?
Well, we just saw Ole Miss obviously take 2 from Arkansas. And I think that, when you take a look at an Ole Miss squad, they're, again, another scrappy squad that they're trying to figure out how to get it done. I think it is a key tournament for the Aggies sitting on the bubble, obviously at the number 16 seed, which we have projected over on softballamerica.com. But Auburn and Georgia, that's going to be a key game for Georgia. We've seen a Bulldog squad that has had some struggles as of late. So I think this is a really pivotal tournament for Georgia to get some much quality wins, and a Mississippi State there as well, to see how Mississippi State goes through this tournament. But again, really pivotal for those that are on the bubble and those that are on the hosting bubble, to get through this SEC tournament, because we do think the committee is going to take a look at this.
Jared, let's talk a little bit about the growth of women's sports. We saw basketball this past year, obviously, Caitlin Clark taking them to new heights. Softball, obviously, dominating, and everybody knows about Oklahoma and some of the storylines there. And just how have you seen it? Because you played the game, obviously, at a very high level. How have you seen it grow here in the last few years?
Well, it's just been incredible. And this past weekend, I was at Bedlam, and Oklahoma released their attendance for this entire season, and over 86,000 people have attended games at Love's Field, and 100,000 in the state, because they played a couple games at Hall of Fame Stadium. So that just tells you right there the growth of the sport. Not only are we seeing huge production numbers across ESPN, but you're seeing people in the seats. And I think that's huge for our sport. You've got, Rhodes House is able to be at Rhodes House a couple games this season and see just the fandom and what Alabama softball has created and built there at Rhodes Stadium. Patrick Murphy, the Bama softball documentary that I was at the premiere, just the growth, even looking back to 2012 to now, it's just exponential, and it's continuing to grow. And I always say this, riding the coattails of women's basketball and what we saw just a few weeks ago and heading into postseason, I couldn't be more excited, not only for softball, but for women's sports.
Tara, we've already touted the SEC a few times, but let's take a look at it, what it could look like next year with the additions of Oklahoma and Texas to the conference. Just how even more dominant will that conference be?
Oh, it's going to be, not only will it be more dominant, it's going to be interesting to see how Oklahoma and Texas also fare in the SEC, because it's going to be a little bit different. There's not going to be a break any weekend for both the Sooners and the Longhorns. So it's just almost turning into a super conference, you might say, in the SEC. And then the Big 12, obviously Oklahoma State is going to stay in the Big 12 and have some new additions in Arizona. But that's going to be key. And I asked, there was a press conference with Patty Gasso, and they're going to keep Bedlam up. So Oklahoma and Oklahoma State will continue to play. But the addition of both Texas and Oklahoma to the SEC, it's just going to be even some more competitive and fun games throughout the season.
How do you like working with Great Britain's softball team? How has that been for you?
Oh my goodness. It's probably a labor of love. It's probably one of the most important and favorite parts of my day is the mornings when I catch everybody over in London. That's like the 4 a.m., 5 a.m. Text messages that I get, but just incredible. International softball is near and dear to my heart and really important in terms of the growth of the game globally, and to allow more girls and women access to sport. And softball has been a really great avenue for that, not only here in the States, but just across the entire world. And so working with the Great Britain national team has just been an incredible honor, and something that I'll never take for granted, and something that is just been really, really fun to be a part of. How
do you make it work? Like, do you fly out there often? How does that, the balance work for you?
Well, the good thing is right now a lot of our athletes are playing Division I, so I get to see them on the road. I just saw Peyton Monticelli and Tia Warsop in Oklahoma City. We've got Katie Berg that's playing for UCF, and so that's been really easy for me to see our players over here. But when needed, just to fly, just hop over the pond to London for a few meetings and then come on back. So, but we're gearing up for the European Championships this summer in Poland for our under 22s, and then in the Netherlands and Utrecht for our women's national team. So just a lot of exciting stuff happening with a series against Team USA here in Oklahoma before we head on over there.
That is Tara Henry here on TexAgs Radio. Tara, thanks so much for your time. Let's do it again, okay?
Sounds great. Thanks so much. Have a great day.
You too. Appreciate the analysis here on TexAgs. All right, we'll hit a break here. When we come back, we'll check in at the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Right now, we're talking Heritage Films. That's Chance McClain's company. They make documentary films about families, right? And they do it about family businesses and family ranches. You name it. They take care of, telling your grandfather's story. You know his story. You know, if he's a World War II vet, if it's, the family business, how you all got started, if it's maybe a group of buddies that get together every weekend and you guys play golf together, or you guys go doing whatever, duck hunting together. Let chance be an eye in the sky of great events in your life, and don't let it pass, right? Do not let time pass, because we are not promised tomorrow. That story needs to be captured and then shared with the family for generation and generation after generation. The website is yourheritagefilm.com, yourheritagefilm.com. When you go there, you can also look at the Yearflix option, which is an awesome 20-minute version of a heritage film. It's more of a Q&A with the green screen reserved for the younger kids in the family. You can talk about their 6th grade year to their sophomore year, these benchmark videos, to when they get to Texas A&M, to when they get their Aggie ring. Make it a 4-part documentary series, and there you have it for your family. The website, again, yourheritagefilm.com, 713-893-8341, 713-893-8341 is Heritage Films. So this headline caught my attention, and I don't know what to think about it. Tell me what you think. All right, this is going to go for everybody on the text line. This is going to go for Callie. This is going to go for Nick Savage. I want you guys to respond to this headline. Millionaire 32-year-old Massachusetts woman enrolls in high school, plays on girls' basketball team, fakes being as young as 13 years old. And I'm looking at pictures She has braces on. She wears a hat to make her look young. 32-year-old social worker has been able to masquerade as a traumatized high schooler for almost a year while keeping her full-time job as a social worker. How does she go to work and go to school? I don't get that part. Shelby Hewitt, known as Ellie Blake, 13, and Danielle Blake Herrera, 16, conned her way into 3 high schools and treatment centers, even tricking a therapist and her partner into becoming her foster parents. Nick, what say you?
I don't know how she got away with wearing a hat in school. I couldn't even do that back in high school. Like, you'd get in trouble for wearing hats. So I guess, that when you said that, well, I don't know why that stuck out to me, but I don't know. What people are weird, man. That's the only takeaway. People are weird. People are weird.
How does that thought process happen? Like, you know what?
I'm going to go back to high school.
I'm just going to do it. Like, I know all the stuff. I learned math.
Like, her real life must have been miserable if she had to go back to high school. Like, I feel like a lot of people look back on high school and they're like, yeah, that kind of sucked. But,
And I'm broing everybody here. Callie, you can be broed here. My kids, my 7th grade daughter, my high school, I don't even touch my high school kids' homework. When my 7th grade daughter asked me for some help on math, I'll go to the question like, let me look at it. I'll be able to figure this out. And I look at it and I'm like, oh, bro, no, I haven't done this in 40 years. We're not playing this game anymore.
Calculators or Chat GPT?
Yes, you can cheat. Nick, that's great advice for all the young people listening to the show. Sure, if you want to cheat and be a loser, by all means. But, I'm just thinking about what you go through, to the mental gymnastics you have to go through to be like, I'm going to go back to school. I need a participation trophy, so I'm going to play athletics with a bunch of 13-year-olds. Callie?
I mean, y'all should have seen my face reading the story. I'm very confused by the whole thing. So she posed as a fake social worker?
Yeah. It created emails disguised as an official Department of Children and Families accounts for 2 different fake social workers and claimed to work 16-year-old troubled teen Daniela Blake Herrera, who struggled with anorexia. There's a lot more to this story. This is deep.
So then she goes to change her identity, and she's now Ellie, or
I think Ellie's her real name. That's and she became Daniela Blake to be in the high school.
So what's forgotten in all this is you said she played basketball?
She played, yes. Yeah, we didn't talk about that.
So did she average 40 points a game, I hope?
I'm not seeing anything about her stats here.
Does it say how tall she was? Are we?
Let's see. Nothing about stats here. So,
man, she must be bad. I think I could even beat her, David.
No. Let's go ahead and be honest.
Sorry, yeah, you're right.
But you remember, was it Danny Almeida, the little leaguer who was 2 years older than everybody, and he was playing and he was dominating. I can't remember the kid's name. That's one thing, to be a kid a couple years older and participate versus kids that are still kids, but you're older. That's not cool. But we're talking about a grown 32-year-old woman taking on 13-year-olds. How you tricked everybody? Are we just that stupid of a society?
We should put Luke Evangelist on a task like that and see if he can pull something off like that. What would it be?
I mean, he'd have to shave the mustache.
Yeah,
for sure.
And he's not going to do that.
Yeah, and the puffy hair. You probably have to change that.
Yeah.
The kids that nowadays are putting the hair all over their eyes or wearing it down. I know this.
The kids, including my 19-year-old brother.
And one of my sons, one of my twin boys, is doing that look.
Yeah, it's not good.
All right, let's get an update on A&M women's golf. I know that you've been following it this morning here, Callie. How's the team doing?
Yeah, they've been flip-flopping kind of all around. So far, they're even on par. They were under 1 yesterday, so on the day today, they're over 1. But they're currently tied for second with SMU. And like we said at the beginning, just need to finish in the top 5. So as long as they stay around where they are, they should be good.
Well, you know what? This is their backyard. This is their home. Let's take it. Let's win it. Let's win trophies, guys.
Let's do it.
Let's continue winning out here. All right, so this is what we got planned for you for the rest of the program. We have 1 hour left here on TexAgs Radio. In hour number 3 of the program, Tom Hart's going to join us. Yep, I've read your messages. We'll talk to Tom Hart here on TexAgs. After that, JB Moss will join us on the phone. We'll talk to JB. Are we overreacting to LSU, underreacting? Want to get his thoughts on how that series played out, the midweek streak that's been going on. Can they continue it tonight against Rice? And, of course, looking ahead at the remainder of the SEC season before the SEC tournament. We'll get into all of that. And, of course, we'll get to your phone calls at 979-693-1150. This is TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, a proud corporate sponsor of Aggie Athletics and of this show since day one. You can find them at 911 University Drive East in College Station. They got Rolexes. They got it all for both men and women. Come meet with one of their certified Rolex specialists there at 911 University Drive East in College Station. Or how about the ideal gift for any David Yurman collector, a signature bracelet, to add to her stack. Visit davidgardnersjewelers.com. Again, that is davidgardnersjewelers.com. When we come back on TexAgs Radio, Tom Hart and more here on the show. All right, we're back here on TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. Let's talk a little SEC baseball, football, you name it. Tom Hart from the SEC Network joining us here on the program. Tom, good morning, buddy. How you been?
What's up, David? How are you?
Good, man. So I know you weren't in Baton Rouge. You got to do it from your awesome home studio. Talk a little bit about what you saw from that series, a series that obviously went south for A&M a couple different times, but able to salvage it there with that last result.
Yeah, I don't think there's any reason to call in the Chicken Littles that the sky is falling. Texas A&M is a really good team, elite team. It was fun watching that lineup in action, especially Laviolette and Montgomery. I guess if there's no concern for me, big picture with Texas A&M, because the numbers are incredible and that's an almost impossible lineup to navigate. LSU played a great series and pitched really well the first two games, especially Christian Little in game number 2. He was really good out of the bullpen. I was a little bit disappointed defensively. I thought, 5 errors over those first two games. If you're chasing a national title, you don't have to be perfect, but you got to be clean, right? And I think that's how we should start thinking about this Aggie baseball team. It's not just, trying to win the division or be a national seed or even get to Omaha. It is, all right, this team's good enough to win it. What do they need to do to be the last team standing? And, that's a high bar, right? But that's what you deserve when you rise to number one in the country. And so I think that's the next question is like, okay, they haven't fielded poorly like that all season. Why did it occur? How can you clean those up? Playing on the road in the conference is never easy, especially LSU. But and offensively, they were, they are who they are. They just you gotta tighten the screws in some areas, I think, if you want to bring home the trophy.
Well, Tom, I know you've done a bunch of games last year for LSU, I'm sure. Mississippi State, Ole Miss over the last few years winning a national championship. These national championship teams all have a weekend or two like this in the SEC. And oh, by the way, it is the SEC. Oh. And oh, by the way, it's LSU who just won a national championship. Yeah, they lost some guys. They still got a lot of talent there.
Yes, and it should be noted, LSU's back is against the wall. They have to win. They needed to win that series to make it back to the postseason. I think they're in good shape. I think the league's going to get 11, assuming that Florida finishes above 500. That's not what the projections have right now. The prognosticators will have 9 or 10, dependent on your source. But I think if you look at it, you can't just look at it in a vacuum. And you look at how tough the league is, top to bottom, where other conferences have come up short. I think there's room for 11 teams. And if that's the case, man, that's a record. That's as deep as any league has ever gone. So to that point, no, it's not easy to win on the road. And going back to your point that national champions sometimes have these weekends, 100%. Ole Miss started the season 7-14 in league play before they eventually got it going. They won the last 4 in. Now that A&M doesn't have to worry about that. But as a veteran team, they kind of hit their stride late and started to perform, and they end up winning a national title. No, absolutely no concern. And no moving of the goalposts. I think the goal is still the same for this A&M team.
Yeah, and one other thing about that series, it's not often that Braden Montgomery, it never happens, goes 0 for 18 over his last 18. Teddy Burton out with an injury. So like a couple of guys that you typically can count on. And Jace Lavalette had his moments, but it wasn't a typical Jace weekend. Those guys didn't deliver the way we're used to seeing, and they still had an opportunity to win that series. They could have won Friday night for sure.
Yeah, Schloss and I were talking about this, what I mentioned on your show last week, that this is, a dangerous lineup, top 5 in the country in home runs, scoring 9.5 runs a game and a lot of power and blah, blah, blah. But what I mentioned, and he agreed with me, was the true depth of this batting order comes in the on-base percentage and being nationally ranked there. I don't think game 1 they drew a single walk. That is a rarity. That is something that does not happen. The home runs, I think it's fair to say the home runs kind of come and go, right? It could be weather related. You could be facing a guy like Hagen Smith on the mound, but you've got to work counts. You've got to be aggressive in the pitches that you swing at, and that comes with deciding what's a strike and knowing what's not. So having 0 walks game 1 of that series, in addition to the 5 errors over the course of the 2 games, I think that was a little bit out of character for this team.
Hey, Tom, let's do a little inside baseball, inside broadcasting. I was very jealous of the way Jim Schlossnagle tossed at the break the other day. I think it was Friday. Because there's times where I go muscle memory tossing the break, and it's like the same line. And there's times I have no idea how I want to get out of a segment. He thought about it, and he delivered.
He was so good because, listen, the nuance in it, right? It wasn't just the confidence with which he did it, but there's thought in everything that he does, right? He doesn't just open his mouth to talk. He comes with a plan, and he started thinking, what network are we on, right? I mean, listen, full disclosure, there are nights I have no idea what network I'm on. We're doing an NBA promo, we must be on ESPN2, versus a softball promo, we must be on SEC Network. However, the nights I don't know. So when he tossed at the break, he had the genius of mind to say, I'm the ESPN family of networks. Just throw the umbrella out there. Keep it nice and wide. I thought it was perfect, and she kind of takes you inside his mind and how that brain turns.
You know, one of the things I love about him is that no matter the outcome of a weekend, when he comes in here in studio on Mondays and sometimes on Thursdays, he answers everything. There's no BS. There's no fluff. It's like I can ask him anything, and he's going to and look, he may not agree with every question, but like he gives you a really good answer. He thinks about his answers.
Well, he also, like great coaches, you know, he knows what he wants to talk about, what message he wants to get across. And when he was on after the Georgia series, not only did TexAgs get some good traction, but a lot of people in college baseball are talking about the message that he sent, not about, you know, doctoring a ball or using some tack or whatever you're doing on the mound, but about the electronic surveillance and the, opportunity for teams to use that. That is a major talking point in college baseball right now, and something that needs to be addressed. I don't know if the powers that be, though, really have a handle on how widespread the problem could be and how exactly to manage it and to handle it. Just from a 30,000-foot view, they introduced all these pitch calling technologies to help speed up the game, right? First, it was walkie-talkies and an earpiece to the catcher, and then he could just put down the signs. And then it turned to watches that would show the signs on it, so the pitcher and catcher would have it. But then everybody had it, including the shortstop and the center fielder. And then that changed again to PitchCom, which is what they use in the big leagues. But hitters are using PitchCom, and they have it in their helmet, which is not what it was intended for. It was intended to be used as it is at the major league level to get signs in quickly and in ways that they cannot be stolen, right? Or misinterpreted or picked. If you pick a pitcher after he gets a sign based on how he holds his glove, open or closed, or waggle, or the grip, pre-grip, then that's on the pitcher. But if you're getting signs other ways, because there's 17,000 cameras in all of these ballparks, and they're technology cameras and TrackMan and a kinesiology camera and center field and first base and third base and behind the dugout. If you have access to that technology and then you have contact with your batter at the plate, that's not just a gray area. Like, that's firmly against the rules to use that technology to do so. And I think that the Georgia pitcher, one of the reasons Schloss didn't, go Mount Vesuvius in that situation was that's something that's been done forever in baseball. And with all the eyeballs in either dugout, it's up to you guys to catch the guy who's doing it. That happened 3 weeks ago when Florida was at Vanderbilt. They challenged it. The kid got thrown out for the game and suspended for 4 games. That's a significant suspension. But we just don't – the technology, I think, is ahead of where the caretakers of the game are. And there's a lot of money at stake in college baseball. There's a lot of salaries that are now into the 7 figures. And there are coaches that want to keep their jobs, and there are assistant coaches that want to raise to be head coaches, and there are video guys that want to coach third base. Like, there are a lot of people looking for advantages. And I'm afraid that we got to take a deeper look into some of this stuff and get the playing field back level again.
Talking to Tom Hart here on TexAgs Radio. Let's stay on that technology track because helmet communication is coming to college football 30 years after it started there in the NFL. How do you think that's going to work out here over the next couple years as people try to figure it out to work efficiently for college football?
I think it gives a huge advantage to play calling head coaches, right? And the reason for that on the offensive side specifically, maybe on the defensive side too. We haven't really seen that, right? You don't usually sit down and talk with a defensive coordinator about what you talk about with those guys is, man, my middle linebacker, my safety know the game so well. They're great communicators. They get us in the right position. They know how to get the signs in. There was a lot of frustration from Nick Saban a couple of years ago when Pete Golding was his defensive coordinator because he always wanted Alabama to be in the perfect play. Well, it takes a minute to see what the offense is doing, to decide how you're going to counter it, get the signal in, and then have that guy disseminate the signal to the rest of the team. Now, all of a sudden, it's as simple as, push to talk. But I think on the offensive side, let's just start with Lane Kiffin, okay? I mean, you've seen the highlight before where Lane calls the perfect play, and after the snap, they hit a guy in a deep slant and he throws his play sheet in the air and he's running 50 yards with the receiver because he knew what that play was going to be pre-snap. All he needed was for them to execute it. Giving a guy like Lane Kiffin the opportunity to relay directly to his quarterback gives, I think, coaches like that, and Ole Miss specifically, with, by the way, a veteran quarterback, gives them a huge, huge advantage this season. And that's fine. That's the way it should be. You're 30 years too late on this technology. I'm tired of seeing the bed sheets on the Oregon sideline, hiding every play call that's coming in from 4 different dudes in Teletubby colored hats to try and disguise this. Sign stealing's been going on. There's an easy way to avoid it. Walkie-talkie straight into the quarterback's helmet. Boom, done.
Tom, this headline caught my attention because I just trying to make sense of it. But Snoop Dogg is going to host and be a sponsor for the Arizona Bowl. And his quote, and I don't have it exactly, but ballpark is he wants to bring back the juice to the bowl system. And obviously gin and juice being the thinking behind it all. Just what do you think about Snoop getting into college football?
I'm glad he didn't say he wanted to bring the smoke to the bowl season. That probably would have fit him. And is Martha Stewart going to be a part of this, or she's still stuck at the Kentucky Derby?
I think it's still the Derby.
They seem to get along pretty well. I saw the headline for the Snoop Gin and Juice game. That takes over what was the Barstool game in Arizona, right? Who's going to televise this thing? And that's the first thing I thought of.
OnlyFans.
If that's going to be on linear television, the tightrope that you have to walk in some of these scenarios is going to be pretty tricky.
Talking to Tom Hart here. Maybe the Lifetime Network will host it. OnlyFans could host it. There's a couple different options there.
OnlyFans.
Why not?
Yeah, I think that's perfect. Get OnlyFans to host.
Hey, so we did a series. We're doing a series about boom or bust, and the team that we're talking about today is Arkansas. Who do you think has the hotter seat, Billy Napier or Sam Pittman?
I think Napier, and I only say that because, they made a major change at Arkansas, even though they didn't change the head coach, by bringing in an offensive coordinator who holds a position of lore in that state's history. I don't know, historically, you look back at his numbers offensively over the last handful of years, they weren't great. It's not a cure-all right off the bat. But the positivity that garnered throughout the entire state and the way it energized that fan base, I think will give Pittman and the entire program a little bit of grace. I'm not saying that if they're a 2-win team, there's not going to be a change. But if they can manage some wins and Petrino can bring a little bit of juice to what they're doing offensively, then I think that move alone probably bought some more time. And the other counter to that, or the other element to that, is the expectations at Arkansas versus the expectations of Florida are drastically different. The history is drastically different. You got to go back a long way to find Arkansas teams that compete for national championships. you don't have to go back that far with Florida, even though it's been a minute. So I think that fan base is hungry. And the other part, this is not unimportant at all. The way a coach connects with his fan base, yes, I think is another element that gives them great grace. Pittman is an Arkansas guy. He dreams to be there. He's probably never going to leave there, even if he's no longer the head coach. He's got a huge hog statue at his lake house. And he's an open book, right? And he shares his emotions and his feelings and his wants, his desires, his frustrations. And Napier is much more tight-lipped. And I think if you continue to have closed practices and you don't share much and you don't have community outreach, I know football coaches are paranoid and they think that their only job is to win games, and that's true. But you get a lot more grace on the edges when you were a bigger part of the community.
I also think the fact that Sam Pittman's had a little success at Arkansas and Billy Napier has not had success yet, they're waiting, and they've been waiting, and they've been waiting. And I think at least that, and Sam Pittman, let's face it, he will not be the head coach next year, right? Like, this is it. And in my opinion, I'm calling it. You look at that schedule, I think we know his writing's on the wall. Billy Napier's got a very tough start to the season to keep his gig too.
So you're making a call now? You're saying it's May 7th? You're saying this is it for Pittman?
Pretty much, yep. I mean, I don't see them winning more than 5 or 6 games. I look at that schedule, I don't see it.
Yeah, and that's my point. If you win 2, the writing's on the wall. If you win 6 and you get to a bowl and you've shown progress, even though we're years into this, I think it's not a total restart, and the honeymoon certainly is over, but I think there's some grace there. And by the way, this is all speculation because it's May. It depends on how you win, how you lose, what happens, what are the other factors that contribute to all of this. The Texas win a couple of years ago was a monster win for that program. Can you find another one of those and pull one of those off? That could be a big springboard.
All right, Tom, last thing for you. We've kind of talked about this topic, but just today, May 7th, another May 7th question. What would constitute to you a good first season for Mike Elko win total? Is 8 wins a good season? Is 9 wins a good season? As of today, what would you say?
I don't have the schedule in front of me, and I always like to look at the schedule when you start to think about win total. I think 8 wins is a good season. I think 9 wins is a great season, and anything above that is gravy. I think the navigation of what college athletics is about to become. Oh, there it is. Yeah, I mean, listen, Notre Dame, that's a winnable game. That's a huge springboard. There's a lot of winnable games on the left side of that schedule.
Yep.
A lot of them. And that gets you off to an amazing start and builds what I was saying earlier, builds great grace. But I think ultimately how it's going to be judged is how Mike Elko and Trev Alberts to an extent, how they navigate this new era of college sports, right? This landscape is constantly changing. How do we gain control over this to get our program and athletic department as a whole, but football program set up for success down the road? And I'm not, it's not the NBA. You can't tank then to be better. But I think there's a lot of attention that needs to go into long-term that may come at the expense of short-term stuff. I know that planning and those discussions are going on nonstop as we speak. It's not sexy. It's not something people like to talk about. They just want to talk about wins, losses, quarterbacks, all this stuff. And I get it, but I think that's a major factor in the college sports landscape is how are you positioned going forward? Obviously the A&M was at the forefront from a collective standpoint. And now with Trev's plan, it seems like they're at the forefront of planning the resources needed to then be ahead of the pack, with this next iteration as soon as that rotation happens.
Tom, great stuff, man. Thanks so much for making time.
All right, David. Be good. Good to see you, man.
Good seeing you, too. A little gin and juice for Tom Hart here on TexAgs Radio. We'll hit a break. When we come back, we'll do some SEC storylines. But before that, a moment for Caldwell Country Chevrolet. You find them on Highway 21 in Caldwell and online at caldwellcountrychevrolet.com. I told you earlier about the whole insurance thing that with Rollo Insurance, right? Like, we're trying to figure out what we're going to do with the kids. Wifey today is like, look, there's some cars online that we need to look at. You started it off there, and I'm not ready to buy a car for the kids. Let's just be honest. But she is. CaldwellCountryChevrolet.com is the site you go to when you start your search. If it is for kids, if it is for an adult, if it's for, lifestyles changing, right? You got a growing family. You've got a family that you got kids going to college and you don't need as big of a vehicle. Whatever it may be, when you're looking for a vehicle, you start that search online at CaldwellCountryChevrolet.com, and then you see all the great deals that they have on their website and, of course, the great pricing. When you go in person, you're going to learn about the best customer service out there, great trade-in values, and great pricing. That's what you can get when you go to Caldwell Country Chevrolet. And remember, it's not a far drive, the very edge of Bryan to the beginnings of Caldwell. Short conversation away, but you'll see the difference when you step on the lot and do business with the great people there at Caldwell Country Chevrolet. Highway 21 in Caldwell. Online, CaldwellCountryChevrolet.com. Tim, I see your text on the chat line or on the text line. He doesn't. TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Let's do a little SEC storylines. Callie Gardner's there at the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Aggies gather at the Angry Elephant. What do you got for us, Callie?
Well, I was going to give us another update on women's golf. And as I was about to update on our shift in position, we shifted back to 1 under. So we're just kind of, flip-flopping around, but we'll try to update as the show goes on. Still tied for second with SMU behind Clemson. Now they are in first place. LSU has dropped to tied for fourth.
Okay.
So we've got some post-spring practice and games, new top 25 from Joel Klatt, who is a
Joel Klatt
analyst.
loves A&M. That guy loves us. He probably put us number 3 in the country, right?
No, sure didn't. But he put us at 25.
Okay.
So we made it.
Progress.
We made it. He's got 9 SEC teams in his top 25. Georgia at 2. Texas is actually at 3, so not the Aggies. Ole
Who's
Miss
number
is
1?
5. I think Ohio State.
Ohio State, okay, I believe that.
Ole Miss is 5, Bama is 7, Missouri's 10, LSU 14, Tennessee 6, Oklahoma at 17. I'm still trying to get used to including Texas and OU in my football stats for the fall, just because it's not right there on my mind. But
Were you listening last week when we had a Texas listener get mad at us for not including Texas in the NFL draft for SEC
for this
teams?
year?
Yeah.
Which they didn't play in the SEC.
No, I don't think they did.
I don't
maybe
remember. Nick can check us on that.
No,
But
I don't remember them at SEC Media Days. No, I don't remember playing them. No.
Yeah.
So I don't think they were in the SEC.
I don't think so either. But,
anyway.
we can include them next year. So
Can we?
We might not.
All right. No, we
Other
will.
people
Of course
can.
we will.
He has Notre Dame at 11, which I thought was interesting because we'll have hopefully a top 25 showdown to open the Elko era at Kyle Field in the fall.
Let me add to that for a second, because Notre Dame's one of these teams that every year people tell me that they're going to be really good. And I mean, like, they're good. There's no doubt about it. But I saw this headline and I read a little bit about it. It said Marcus Freeman, who's the head coach at Notre Dame, believes this is one of the most talented rosters that he's had since he's been there. And that might be the case. But I talked to an insider from Notre Dame not long ago, and they are really worried about their offensive line. Riley Leonard coming back from an injury from Duke, obviously, to a new place, a new system. They got Mike Denbrook as their offensive coordinator. You know what offenses he was able to put up with LSU and Jaden Daniels. I say all that like they're, to me, like, I don't want to call them a team like A&M, because A&M is a team that we've got to see it to believe it. But Notre Dame, there's a lot of questions about Notre Dame. I don't know why I'm not saying they don't deserve to be in the top 10. The questions that where they're vulnerable, to me, open up a lot of potential, especially early on in the season. A&M gets them at home. That's going to be a hard game. Look, Notre Dame, there's certain brands that you know eventually will figure it out, and if Marcus Freeman can figure it out, they're going to be really, really good. But if they have problems with the O-line, if they're not comfortable there, yeah, there's going to be a new system in place there. Maybe they can move the ball, but there's going to be a new defensive system at A&M. And if that's the first game of the season, I love the way Elko schemes. I'm just saying, like, don't count that one as, I know there's going to be the optimistic Aggie out there, and there's the pessimistic Aggie. In the middle Aggie is looking at it like this. Defensively, we're going to be able to cause some chaos there for Notre Dame. All right, Callie, sorry for interrupting.
No, I mean, I completely agree with you. I think getting them at home is huge for us. I think it'll be a really awesome game to open up the season. And it's interesting that you mentioned optimistic and pessimistic Aggies, because I was actually at dinner the other day with my family, and my mom and my sister, of all people, were talking about how excited they were for football season because they think we're going to be really awesome and they're really excited for the season. And I was sitting there and I was like, yeah, I'm excited, but I think I've kind of leaned off of that optimistic Aggie mentality and am more middle of the road. Like, I'm excited and I think we'll be good, but I need to see it, which I used to not be that way. I used to go into every football season thinking we were going to win the national championship every year.
I can tell that you listen to TexAgs radio, because the Go Hour is littered with OB and myself going back and forth. I just got to see it.
Yeah.
And it's been for 3 years.
Yeah.
I just got to see them block. Once I see it, then I'll believe it. I just got to see them win on the road. And that's where we are as a program, but with a lot of optimism with a new head coach. All right, continue.
Absolutely. So the 2024 Heisman Trophy betting odds have been updated after spring football, and they have, which I'm not a betting person and I don't really understand betting odds. I know there's like plus and minus, but there's no minus on this, and I guess that means, I don't really know. But I know like the plus smaller numbers is better. So Carson Beck and Quinn Ewers lead the pack at plus 900. Jalen Milrose plus 1,400. Jackson Dart plus 1,800. Connor Wigman is plus 3,500. So I don't think they have a lot of confidence in him, but you never know. And Nico, I'm not even going to try to pronounce his last name. Is OB close with his I'm a leaving on a jet plane? Is that like, is it I'm a leave? I don't really know.
I'm a believer.
I'm a leave, that's right.
I'm a believer.
Okay.
I'm a believer.
He's at plus 2,000. So he's kind of middle of the road, but they've got a heck of a lineup of SEC quarterbacks in the top there. So we'll see how it goes. And as we know, Max Johnson chose to use his final season of eligibility to play for Mac Brown at North Carolina, which is his third school in 5 seasons. And I thought it was interesting. I read somewhere he said that his experience so far at UNC has been very similar to his experience at LSU and A&M.
Yeah.
Which maybe it has been, but if he thinks it's going to be similar in the fall, in my opinion, I think he's very mistaken. I mean, the toughest team UNC is going to face is Florida State, and they play them on the road, but that's by far their toughest game. The conference slate for UNC is nowhere near the caliber of teams that he's played in the SEC. So I'm not sure exactly what he meant by that, but
I think he maybe just the experience overall with that quarterback room and not being guaranteed a spot. He is competing for that top spot there in North Carolina. I think maybe that. And by the way, very impressed that you've become an NFL analyst or a college football analyst like that. That was good. It was good analysis there.
Thank you. I don't know much about UNC. I know Mac Brown is their coach, and I read somewhere that he and his family was good friends with Mac Brown, or they knew him, so maybe that was what drew him and his brother.
And I know Jimbo had a great relationship with the family as well. Hey, let me read this tweet before we hit a break. Chase Lane, who was an A&M wide receiver, tweeted out here about an hour ago, I'm extremely excited to announce that I'll be starting at 11 Alive News as a guest analyst on Sports Extra with Rhea Martin. Catch me at the end of this month, 11:30 on Sunday nights. Very grateful for the next step in my journey. So that's an Atlanta TV station, NBC affiliate there out of Atlanta. So Chase Lane on Sunday night is going to be on television. I remember he came to TexAgs and spoke to myself and Billy and Brandon Jones about the next phase of his career before he left there for Georgia Tech. So happy for Chase. It'll be good stuff. He had that podcast that did so well when he was here in Aggie land, and congratulations to Chase Lane. Let's do this. Let's hit a break. When we come back on TexAgs Radio, we are going to talk to JB Moss and talk a little Aggie baseball. But before we do that, it's time to talk Schulte Roofing, the award-winning roofing company that takes care of everybody in this entire area, the Brazos Valley and beyond. They have services to Belleville, to Brenham, to Bryan, to College Station, to Conroe, to Montgomery, to Navasota, to San Antonio, and the Woodlands, and, of course, those surrounding areas out there. Schulte Roofing, home of the Bulletproof Roof Guarantee, the industry's absolute best roofing system, roof installation warranty, and 100% satisfaction guarantee or your money back. They've been around since 1994, and everybody in this area that needs a new roof, they know who to call. They call Schulte Roofing out there. They've grown into a top 100 roofing company, and they are the best in the entire area, in the entire state. I'll just say it, the entire country out there. Call up here in Texas at 1-800-4ROOF. That number again, 1-800-4ROOF, directly 936-825-3690, or go to SchulteRoofing.com. That's SchulteRoofing.com. I wonder if this song is on JB Moss's playlist. TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. I know it's on Nick Savage's playlist. There's no doubt about that. JB, good morning, buddy. What's up? Hey, buddy.
How's everything going?
It's going well. How are you? There's a little bit of a delay there. What's going on?
Oh, not much. Everything's good here, man. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you, buddy. Let's start things off about. We're going to go back, and then we're going to go forward, right? Let's go back to Baton Rouge and just your initial takeaways from that rough series.
Yeah, so I didn't get a chance to watch a lot of the series. I had a busy weekend, but certainly kept up with the box scores. And, I certainly understand Coach Slosh is disappointed in their performance. There's something about Aggies and LSU. We certainly don't like each other, and I would certainly have rather them lose another series than to the Tigers. But listen, we talk about it all the time, and this is 30 games of the ultimate grind in the SEC, and you're not going to win every series. Nobody does, and you're going to take your lumps. But what's most important is how you respond to adversity, and they certainly answered the bell on Sunday, and expect them to get back on track next weekend in Oxford.
Yeah, we're talking to JB Moss here on TexAgs Radio. A couple things that happened this weekend that I think caught my attention was how often is Braden Montgomery going to go hitless in a weekend, right? Or how often does he go hitless in a game for that part? Just the fact that he wasn't able to get off just Schneid, and hopefully we see him later on today out there hacking away.
Yeah, hey, I think you're pretty safe putting your money on Braden Montgomery responding back today. I think I heard you earlier in the program that he's 0 for his last 18, if that's correct. And listen, But they call it a batting average for a reason, right? I mean, you're going to go through ebbs and flows, ups and downs. I mean, at the end of the day, it's a round field with a round bat, a round ball, and there's 8 players standing in the middle of it. So, it's a game of failure. And, but Braden is a hard worker by all accounts, and obviously extremely talented. So he's the least of my worries moving forward.
JB, what's the longest hitless streak you had that you can remember?
Oh gosh, you try to forget those as a player for sure. I'm sure I've had some over 18s in there, especially in pro ball. Pro ball is so challenging because the depth and the quality of pitching is so much more advanced. But yeah, I definitely had some over 20s, I'm sure.
Talking to JB Moss here on TexAgs Radio. Let's go back and forth between offense and pitching. So pitching wasn't great this past weekend, but Ryan Prager pitched well enough to win that game. After that, though, starting pitching was scary. Tanner Jones has had a couple of rough outings. Justin Lampkin has gone back and forth from a good outing to a bad outing. Just when it comes to starting pitching, how concerned are you?
Well, I'd be lying to you if I didn't say I was a little concerned. Look, Coach Slosh says this all the time. He says you're only as good as tomorrow's starting pitcher, right? And I certainly think that we are talented enough to win a national title. But there's no doubt that all 3 guys really need to be more consistent. I think Ryan Prager has had an exceptional season. His stat line is very, very impressive. But the other 2 guys obviously have been very inconsistent, and that does, cause some worry because you need those guys to be sharp. I mean, look, I say this all the time, and everyone points to 2022, but you just can't count on outscoring other talented clubs. I think that's what we saw this past weekend in Baton Rouge. And I think one thing that separated Ryan Prager from the other 2 starters and what has separated him all year long is his lack of free bases. His command is exceptional. I think when you throw the ball over the plate, when you throw strikes and you give your defense a chance, and look, A&M's defense, wasn't up to par this past weekend, but overall they're fielding 980 as a team, which is a very, very high clip. I would just like to see those last 2 starters, Nuño, be more competitive in the strike zone. I think that if they keep the ball in the ballpark and in the strike zone, I really, really like A&M's chances.
JB, though, the bullpen overall, I mean, obviously we know what Evan Oschenbeck can do. He didn't have a characteristic performance this past weekend. It was more uncharacteristic, I should say. But what we saw from Chris Cortez, what we saw from Shane Sadeo.
Yeah, and Brad Rudis. I mean, all 3 of those guys did a phenomenal job. And, just being completely transparent with you, that's something I visited with Bronny about. And my hesitation is, hey, do we have enough arms? I think our arms are good enough. I was a little hesitant on do we have the quantity of arms that we need to make it through tournament play, as Coach Slosh calls it, and through, the College World Series. But to those guys' credit, seeing guys like Rudis, Sadeo, Josh Stewart, Chris Cortez, I mean, look, if you have 6 or 7 guys that are dependable in that bullpen, that is enough, especially if we can get some sort of length out of our starting pitching. And so, like you mentioned, even though we weren't necessarily pleased with our starting pitching, I thought our bullpen certainly was a bright spot for the weekend.
So Teddy Burton obviously was nursing his injury, but Caden Kent, man, what an at-bat. Just this young man is making a case to get a little bit more looks in a very crowded lineup already.
Well, he certainly is. And look, Coach Slosh and the staff, they see these guys compete every single day. They watch every swing they take in batting practice. They see every live BP that they take, and they watch them in scrimmages. So, look, they know exactly what they're doing. I think that they've proven that in their time in College Station. So, like Caden Kent, like every other player, he has his strengths and he has his weaknesses. And, I think what we're starting to see a little bit more from Caden, obviously, is the Grand Slam. He pulled a double or a triple, I think, on Tuesday night. What I'm trying to say is we're seeing more extra base hits from Caden. I think that's something they wanted to see from him. He puts the ball on the ground a lot. And the problem is when you get to this level of college baseball and into professional baseball, typically, Nuño, if you put the ball on the ground, you're going to be out. And the reason I say that is because the defenders are so advanced. You look at Ali Camarillo, if you hit a ground ball to Ali, you're probably going to be out 9 times out of 10 or 10 times out of 10. So I think that the credit goes to Caden and listening to the staff and what they're asking him to do. And he certainly seems bought in and a great teammate. And credit to him because, like you said, he'd be starting on a lot of other teams.
JB, one thing that Coach Sloss said in his post game there on Sunday was that we've got 40 wins before we have 10 losses. And I feel like sometimes we need that reminder of how good this team is. That, it wasn't the best weekend overall, but this team's got 40 wins, and we're talking May 7th.
Well, you're exactly right, and it's a great point that you bring up, David. And listen, I heard Coach Slosh's interview in with you and Bronny on Monday, and look, it's a tricky thing because I think you and Bronny could have gone a little deeper on it, and I certainly understand why you didn't. But you're battling. Hey, is this a great season? Unfortunately, all fans really tend to look at is what happens at the end, right? And what's happening now. Certainly, if the season ended today, we would classify this season as a phenomenal season. You look at 2022 Ole Miss, I believe, who won the national title, and by no means was that anywhere close to their best team in program history, but they win the College World Series. All that to say, look, this is a phenomenal club. This is a phenomenal program. Is there room for improvement? Of course. But we have to be happy with where they are, and 40 wins before 10 losses. I mean, that's just incredible. My junior year, we went 50-14. My senior year, we went 49-16. And it's very, very hard to do, and certainly proud of where these guys are at.
Talking to JB Moss here on TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. Let's just talk about the midweeks. Undefeated so far. They got Rice tonight, the last one. Just how cool will it be? Obviously, we want to see them win undefeated in the postseason, right? But for where we are right now in the season, to go along with the 40 wins, the fact that they've been perfect in the midweek and they've got a chance to close it out tonight.
Yeah, it's very, very impressive. There's no doubt about it. Look, it's very hard to do, especially when you get into conference play, because we talked about it last time I was in studio with you guys. The conference series, look, these guys are 18-22. I'm not concerned about them playing 3 baseball games in 3 days. I'm not concerned about how their bodies respond. You're always a little concerned about how their minds respond. It's very emotionally and mentally draining on Sunday afternoon when you're done with a 3-game conference set. So just the maturity from the staff and from the players to be able to bounce back and take care of business on Tuesday nights. Look, there's very few people that go through conference undefeated. So, it's something that we took a lot of pride in when I was at A&M. And it seems like it's something they're taking pride in, and it is a big deal for sure. Because look, all those teams are gunning for you, and also like we talked about, most of those teams on Tuesday night wish they were at Texas A&M. I mean, for a lot of these schools, this is they highlight and circle this game on their schedule, and they're looking forward to it all year. So you're going to get their best shot, and just super impressed with how competitive the Aggies have been on Tuesday nights.
They're going on the road again after the Rice game. They go to Ole Miss, a team that's also desperate. Just the rest of these series here, right? You got Arkansas to close it out. You've got this one coming up with Ole Miss. Just the importance of winning on the road, something that A&M has done a great job of this year.
Yeah, winning on the road in this league is very, very hard to do. And look, it's like this every weekend, but it's been amplified towards the end of the season in that everybody's playing for something, right? If you're A&M and Arkansas, you're playing to win your division in your conference. If you're Ole Miss, you're fighting and scratching and clawing, trying to get in the tournament, whether it's the SEC tournament and trying to make a run or the NCAA tournament. So the stakes are heightened towards the end of the year. Everybody's going to, put a little bit more effort in, be doing extra, anything they can do to get a W. So, look, don't get caught up in the record of Ole Miss. They're going to give you their best shot, and they're going to feel comfortable at home for sure. So it's a great test for A&M. I actually like that they're going back-to-back road venues. I'm not sure if school's out for Ole Miss, but I certainly don't anticipate the atmosphere being as intimidating as Alex Box. So I hope that they're able to take what they've learned this past weekend and apply it, and we get a good product this weekend in Oxford.
JB, great stuff as always, man. I think I'll see you here, next Friday?
Yes, sir. Next Friday. I'm looking forward to it.
All right, man. Talk to you then. Thanks for coming on the show.
You got it. Thanks, David.
JB Moss here on TexAgs Radio. We'll hit a break. We'll do one final segment right now. I want to remind you guys about preseason kickoff registration. It's a great event. Many of you have been there. Many of you have watched it online. Go to texags.com/kickoff to get your tickets to go out there. It is Saturday, July 27th. We have open registration open right now. It's going to be a great event. Obviously, every year we try to get the best and all the coaches on campus in attendance, and then we'll have a bunch of them speak. In years past, we've had Schloss speak, we've had Jimbo speak this year. Mike Elko will be speaking, obviously. Buzz has spoken at several of these, so it'll be a fun time here, and we hope that many of you can come out and join us there for the preseason kickoff. We'll hit a break. We'll come back with one final segment here on TexAgs Radio. All right, time to end the day with Double Daves. Caller number 12, 979-69. Why did I say it like that? Goodness gracious. Spaz. 979-693-1150. We're going to hook you up with your choice of a dozen pepperoni rolls or a large one-topping pizza from Double Daves, who have been serving Aggie Land since 1984 with your favorite pizza and, of course, those pepperoni rolls. Reliable in-house delivery, bringing piping hot goodness straight to your door. Just click on doubledaves.com and your favorites are on their way. Dalton on the premium boards just posted something. You know, he's smart. By the way, his last day is Thursday, if you guys haven't heard. Dalton is leaving us, and my voice cracked there, maybe because I was sad or maybe just because I'm a teenager. But he says, interesting baseball schedule note. Notice the changes this morning on 12thman.com in regards to the Arkansas series at Olson Field at Bluebell Park. Thursday, 7 o'clock start on ESPN2. Friday, 7 o'clock start on SEC Network. And Saturday, 2 p.m. start at the SEC Network. That is next weekend, obviously before the SEC tournament there in Hoover. So just a couple thoughts for you right there. We'll talk to Dalton on Thursday. We're gonna miss that guy. He is TexAgs Radio for me, right? He was the guy who made it a seamless transition. So I love Dalton. We'll go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Censor. Callie Garner, ¿qué tienes?
Yeah, I was actually curious. I'm glad you brought that up because I was curious about how they were going to handle the Arkansas weekend in the TV schedule. I'm glad they are paying it the respect it seems to deserve, and we'll have.
It could be for the title.
It could be for the title.
Could be. Should be.
I hope it is.
Will it be?
I really hope it is. And I hope we win it.
I hope so.
So I have one thing I want to talk about, but before I get into that, I want to address a text from Dan.
Dan 76?
Yes. He says, PSA to all young Ags beginning with the class of 2017. It's TU, lowercase, no periods, and they are the T-SIPs. And I think that was a shout out to me because I have been addressing Texas, and I think I called them UT a few times on here, and I want to
apologize to the people?
Rest assured, I'm a College Station local, raised by 2 Aggies. I'm a third-generation Aggie on both sides. I'm well aware that it is TU, and I won't make that mistake again.
I mean, I call them Texas. Billy calls them Texas. Whatever. Yeah.
My mom would agree with you, so
it's whatever. Like I don't
my
like.
grandma would really agree.
I want them to lose every game they ever play. My wife went to A&M. Okay, I mean to Texas. I love celebrating their misery, and
it's fun.
And guess what? They like celebrating ours. So
Yeah.
whatever. Like I like for them and Barcelona to lose every game 50-0. If that can happen. If that's a thing. Anyway, close it out for us.
Yeah, really fast. Max Chadwick just commented on how he sees a bright future for the Aggie quarterback. Connor Wigman thinks he can be a complete dark horse candidate for QB1, which I agree.
Well, in the NFL, right?
Yes, yes.
Pro
in the
Football
NFL.
Focus, yeah. Because
Yes, Pro Football.
He is QB1.
Yes.
Look, he's got size, he's got speed, he's got the arm, and he put up some great numbers. And football is changing. I don't think anybody saw Jaden Daniels as a first-round or top 5 pick a year ago today. Now, I might be wrong. Maybe we can go back and look that up.
I didn't.
I don't believe that was even discussed. So if A&M can have a big season where he puts up some incredible numbers, yeah. I would prefer for him to stay a little bit longer just because, like he likes it here. Why not? But when you are potentially a first or second round pick, you got to go take care of your family. I get that. All right, that's going to do it for TexAgs Radio here on a Tuesday. My thanks to all of our great guests on the program. Tom Hart, yep, that was for all of you on the boards. Hope you enjoyed that. JB Moss, always good to have JB. We'll have him here in studio next week. Tara Henry, talking some softball. Steve Denton, talking men's tennis. We had John Nabors, our friendly neighbor there from Arkansas on the program to talk Arkansas football, Charean Williams, and, of course, the somewhat great, at times, Olin Buchanan. All right, that's going to do it for the program. We're going to see all of you, hopefully every one of you, mañana.